Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Every time I keep forgetting to take that off of there. Just Al is in our hearts. Hello, gatekeepers. Welcome to Sunday night. And oh my gosh, has this been a hoot. I apologize first off for being late. That was not Mr. Cho's fault. That was all on me and YouTube. And I was wrestling trying to get these videos up. Donnie, let's get our co-host in here. Friend of mine, you know him as Mr. Donnie Cho. Hey, welcome in. And I gotta say, Donnie, it's lovely to have. We said this last week when we called on. We were going to do SS Cupcakes, and we decided to switch it at the last minute, and we did Pirates. We said we don't know how this is going to turn out. Then we called on Laura and we called on Dylan and you, and we all got ideas, and we just went out there, and it was a blast. It was an absolute blast.
It was a fun time.
And to have, and then today I said that, we're going to do, I think I want to do Bermuda Triangle, because I was trying to tell Donnie, I don't know if you had ever experienced, like little paranormal magazines. Like Steve and I are always talking about Fate magazine. There was another one, Argosy. Did you have those in your childhood? Did you experience that? Were you into it then? Were you looking at that stuff? Or National Enquirer, the lady who ate the alien, or the, all the weird stories?
There was only one issue of National Enquirer that my mom bought when I was a kid, because it talked about how Jesus showed up over the sky, and she was like, "Oh my God, Jesus showed up over the sky."
Right now, They're saying in chat they don't have sound. Are we 5-5, guys? Hello, everybody in there. I just saw Salvador said no sound. Is your sound good, Donnie? Am I muted? I'm not.
I hear you fine.
Okay. Can we see if everybody, the roundtable show last Sunday was pretty damn great. Jose must be able to hear us because he's answering our questions. 5-5, Laura says. Okay, good. Sal, welcome in, everybody. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. I'm like on adrenaline here. I am drinking lavender chamomile tea, and I should be calmed down, but I've been really wrestling with this tech, and I'm just like, wow, I'm going to be late, and I apologize again. But let's say hi to everybody. Vixen, welcome in. Ian, Glenn, Jackie, my love, my darling, I'm telling you what. She spoiled me so good, and she sent me some lovely, wonderful chocolate, and I thank you so very much, and I probably should have some with my tea right now. Chris, welcome in. You want to say hi to some wonderful gatekeepers, Donnie?
Hello to Are You Kidding Me?
Nice.
It's good to see you. Sean G is in the house.
Sean, how you doing? Saying lovely things over on his show. What wonderful shows he has. If you're not subbed, please get over there. He's got so many different shows going on. But if you want to drop your link in there, Sean, or Laura, can you drop it? Or Jackie? I know Laura's got it. But wonderful. If you're not watching Sean's show and his call-in shows and his guests, absolutely wonderful, top notch. He's got a lot of experience experiences, and and he's kind of very easy to listen to and easy to talk to, and makes you feel comfortable. And there's not too much he can't talk about, huh, Donnie? You watch the show. You sub over there.
That last episode he did, I think it was
Mm-hmm.
called Southern Supernatural. I think that was Friday, day before
So good.
yesterday. That was one of the best cryptid podcast episodes I've
Yeah,
listened
we're
to in a
definitely
long
getting him
time.
on.
It was
I'm getting
so
him on.
good.
Yeah, absolutely. Give it a little time and we'll get him on, so we're not just back to back in it. I hate doing that where somebody's got somebody and I want to go, oh man, I want to talk to that person, but I jot them down, I let it rotate a little bit, and thank the person for that connection.
So a
Wow.
little insight
Yeah.
into my podcast listening habits. Like late at night, I like to put on some like Pokemon on my Nintendo Switch and have the podcast playing, and I listen to it and I play some Pokemon. But then that podcast came on, I dropped my controller and I was just staring at my phone.
Uh-oh. That must have been good.
Yeah.
That's
It
how
was so
long
good
did
it made
take
me
you?
stop playing Pokemon.
Wow. So there you go, Sean. Drop that, and thank you for all the kind words. That's very nice of you. It's really nice in this community when people do that. I mean, of course we support Steve. Hey, Steve, if you're out there, 13 past midnight, and Sandy, they all just got back from their big old trip out there to the Bigfoot Con, and that was great Monday talking to them. And thank you, Jackie, for dropping the links. Yep, get your Gatekeeper gear, TeePublic, get you some nice summer shirts and stuff like that. Promote the podcast. I certainly appreciate it. Donnie and I, or Laura and I, or Steve and I, we pretty much do this on our own. And sometimes, man, I'm not easy on my people. What did I tell you this morning?
Yeah.
Was it? Which they turn out to be the best ones. Do they not?
Yeah.
And I mean, who doesn't like a good mystery? And is there a bigger mystery than the Bermuda Triangle, Donnie? I mean, that's pretty
one
good.
of the
It's gotta
big
be up
ones.
there. It's got to be up there. And like I was saying in the beginning, Fate magazine was, Steve and I talk about it all the time, but you got to imagine, you do whatever little yard work we had to do, or you wash your dad's car or whatever it might be, and you make your allowance, and you're just a little kid. And everybody had a corner store or the store you went to that you saved up when you had money to go buy. We could still buy penny candy when I was a kid. Little brown bags, and you could get the little root beer barrels, or you could get the 1 cent red licorice. I didn't like the black licorice. A lot of people like that, or you either love it or you hate it. But that red licorice, it had looked like a penny. It had a 1 cent on it, and you get Mary Jane's and all these different candies, and you'd actually be able to get a couple. And Fate magazine, and then you'd go home and you'd wonder what wonders you were going to read about. And I remember reading about the Bermuda Triangle in the Fate magazine, and it was incredible. Why is it just me up here? Hang on 1 second. We got all kind of tech. Are you guys having any trouble with YouTube right now? I've got this great big picture of me. Donnie's not there. Oh, this is something totally different. What is going on?
I mean,
Go
I
ahead,
see you
Donnie.
okay.
You see it okay?
Yeah, I see you okay.
All right. I will fix this when I play a video, and that way I'll be able to see the chat real big. There's Laura's beautiful face. Is she in the chat tonight? I think I saw her.
Yeah, I think
go by.
Yeah, she's in there.
Well, hello, all you wonderful people, and welcome in. And that's the thing, nostalgia. And when you get my age, and and Steve, and we look back, we really do bring up a lot of this stuff from our past, because that's why, again, why I've been bled up all these in search of. So while digging for that, I've found some other things, and I remember seeing a movie. And I had I still had some penny candy in the bag. The Fate magazine, I probably already read most of the stories. I wanted to 3 or 4 times. I would read the ghost ones first. But Bermuda Triangle, and it scared me. And, it's like one of those where you throw the book down, then you pick it back up real quick and start reading again because it just freaks you out. That was the Bermuda Triangle. And it was a story about one of the ships that they had found, I think food was still on the table. Everybody was gone. Very much like, what was it? We were doing an episode where they had people missing off a boat, right? That was the Pirates. It was in the
Ghost
pirate
ship one, the Mary Celeste.
There you go. And it was similar to that, but there's so many in the Bermuda Triangle. Now, how many of you guys remember the first time you heard about the Bermuda Triangle? It might have been a show, might have been Unsolved Mysteries, it might have been one of these later shows. But when I was digging around 1976, I saw the movie that I begged. I begged my mother to take me to see Chariots of the Gods, and this movie came on right after it on television, and we sat there, and I made her get home quick, and it was just turn on the TV, you just sit in front of it, you just wait through all the commercials and all the build up, and I watched this movie. It's called, the name of it was Charles Berlitz's The Bermuda Triangle, and it was right from the book. It was amazing. Now, I found a little copy of this on YouTube. It was splintered all over the place, but there's a full copy, and I'll tell you where to get it in the video so you guys can sit down and watch the whole movie. It's real low grade, and you have to, it's got the hissy. It sounds like they did it with video, and they're probably copied off the videotape. But it's the only copy I know of that I could get out there and find that was clear enough to show you guys. So, yes, Jackie remembers. So, I've got some clips of that. There was another wonderful one that Steve sent me called Secrets of the Bermuda Triangle. That was from 1978, and I've got some clips out of that. And a couple of other just great stuff digging around. Donnie sent some things. Donnie's always going to bring the research. So, what do you say, Donnie? You want to watch a little clip here and kind of get in the mood and get in the feel of this whole Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds great,
sounds
right?
Like fun. Hey,
All
what's
right.
up, Stephen Lewis?
Hey. Welcome in, Glenn. Hey, Andrew. How you doing, sweetie? Thanks, everybody, for coming in. And if you could just bounce out, if anybody comes new real quick, give me a thumbs up because, boy, it helps YouTube. I've really been battling
by
like
the
crazy.
way, I never got my hands on any Fate magazine, but I do have all of those. Remember back in the 80s, they used to have those commercials on TV for Time Life books, and they would have like that book set of like all paranormal stuff.
Oh, wow. Yes, I do.
Hey, I got the whole set.
Oh,
I got it at a yard sale.
Oh, man, I remember that. I can almost, when you said that, I could almost see the flash of that one book had the ghosts, and it has the lady in the window.
I remember those
my
commercials
gosh.
being real scary.
Oh, man, I would love to
see
that.
When we meet up to go to the Hoover House, I'll bring them for you.
Oh, really? I would love to see
I got the whole set. I got the whole set.
I can remember being a little kid and thinking about this. Man, that would be great to have. And you know what? Another blast from nostalgia. I was talking to Laura this week. I forget how she said she got a bunch of books. I can't remember how she got them. Maybe she'll tell us in the chat. But she showed me a picture. She said, I can't believe I didn't even know I had it. And it was Yankee Ghosts, Hans Holzer. And that was one of the two books that I got when I was 11 on my bicycle from the used bookstore and got me started on Hans Holzer. So it's like all this nostalgia is coming up at once, and it's just been a hoot, man. It's so exciting. So I put together this little thing. We got lots of videos for you tonight. I'm trying to keep it streamlined. I'm going to try, but we're probably going to go over a little bit. So if you got to go, I understand. You can always watch the replay, okay? I don't want you to miss any. It's so good. The Bermuda Triangle has you in its sights. Yeah, probably. Who knows? If I disappear, you know where to look for me. Just don't let those fish get me. We got some fish. Oh, my God. It's horrible. But it's kind of fun, too. So here we go. Let's see what this one is. I think this is the intro taken from the movie Secrets of the Bermuda Triangle. It's a documentary that was put out in 1978. Wait till you get a load of this. This is just a little bit of it. Catch your ears. Woo!
Tango leader to Fort Lauderdale Tower. We are 5 miles east of the field for landing. Tango leader, this is Fort Lauderdale Tower. Wind 250 at 10, altimeter 299 visibility 12 miles, report turning downwind. We still don't have you in sight. Tango leader to Fort Lauderdale Tower. We are over the field and turning downwind. Tango leader, we still do not have you in sight. Fort Lauderdale Tower, this is Tango leader. We are over the field and turning downwind. We still do not have you in sight. What's the problem down there? Tango leader, state your position. We are on base possible. We have no aircraft in the pattern.
Fort Lauderdale Tower, this is Palm Beach Tower. I think we have 4 of your birds landing here.
Palm Beach Tower, this is Fort Lauderdale Tower. They're all yours.
The flight is landing not at its designated destination, Fort Lauderdale, but 40 miles up the coast at Palm Beach. A strange navigational mistake. One compass could break down. One pilot could make a mistake. But 4 pilots and 4 compasses, hard to explain. Yet no damage was done. That very afternoon, however, another training mission. The 5 Avengers of Flight 19 would become part of one of the most curious events in the history of aviation. It happened in the Bermuda Triangle.
Love that music, by the way.
So good. There you go. It's like tasty already, right? The music, man. That is like I think one of the things, a couple of clips done, and I'm thinking, what music will I pick? And I go to the YouTube library because YouTube is lovely. We love the YouTube. Why? Because we love YouTube. And they provide all of this big library, and I go in there and I pick, nope, oh, wait, nope. And, you know, I might go through like 20 songs, maybe more sometimes, trying to find that right one. And yeah, Gray loves the music too, everybody. And it kind of sets the mood. It's really cool. That music tonight, that you will be delighting you throughout the evening, is called Mystery. How apropos. And it is by We Free Music, and again on YouTube, audio library. So how about that? That was the beginning of Flight 19, and thank you, Jackie, for dropping that link for the Secrets of the Bermuda Triangle. It's a full-length movie. Again, very grainy. You have to really want, gotta want it, you know. It's not going to be high def, but man, the intelligence and the info is amazing, right? Okay.
Yeah, and the Flight 19 one is I think is probably the most iconic of
Right. Absolutely,
Bermuda Triangle
it
stories.
is. It throughout this night. The way I have the videos, and way Donnie has his information too, we're going to kind of pepper Flight 19 through it. Again, everything that they're saying, keep in mind that most of the videos and stuff that we're watching tonight, you know, the latest one is like 78. So they may say, and they were never found, or this wreckage was never found. And of course, there's going to be developments throughout, and we do try to have a little bit of finish up stuff for it. But when you hear this, just keep in mind that it was then. And that's when it was, you know, it was put out. The book itself, the Berlitz book, that you guys will recognize when you see the cover for sure. That book was written in 74, and then the movie came out, I think, 78. It says it in the video. But here's the next one. Now, the next one, this one I picked, it's a little longer. It's about 13 minutes, okay, guys? So again, if you got to get up, walk around, whatever, you can do that. But this one introduces you to a man. Now, when I was younger, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Jacques Cousteau. You heard it a lot in the 70s. I don't know when he actually stopped being active, but he was an explorer, you know, the ocean. He was as famous then as, was it Marlon Perkins and the... oh gosh, it was on Sunday nights. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. On Sunday night, it was right before the Disney Sunday night movie, and then you had to go to school the next day and go to bed. That's the way we grew up most of the time. 3 channels. But this guy, I hadn't heard of him in years, and he popped up in this movie, and you have to see him. So this one is going to take you not only back in time to 1978, but actually I think this one was 75. This one was 75. It's going to tell you about some of the ships missing, some of the airplanes missing, a couple of oddities, but it's also going to take you in to the Bermuda Triangle and take you under the water, show you a little wreckage, and just enjoy. And you get to meet this wonderful character, Peter Tompkins, who's going to take you through some of our stories tonight. So it's fantastic. Oh, you remember him well, Jackie. There you go. Well, here he is in all his glory. Sit back and enjoy it. I hope you have your popcorn. It's popcorn night, Donnie. Donnie has, do you want to tell them what you have, Donnie? It's kind of goes with the sea.
Dried anchovies. I was munching on them earlier.
Donnie has dried anchovies. I have popcorn. You know, whatever it is, bacon, bacon jerky, bacon popcorn, hot chocolate, bacon flavored hot chocolate, which was lovely, Jackie. Thank you so much.
I mean, don't knock them until you try them, you know.
Yep.
Kind of
Well,
tasty.
I'm
Very
going to have to keep
flavorful.
knocking them, baby, because you ain't going to make me try dried anchovies, but that's okay. There's more anchovies for you. I don't do
It's great bar food.
Not even on pizza. Is it?
Yeah.
I would do hot wings. Maybe with some hot sauce. No, I'm not even going to consider it. No, no, no. Here we go.
Actually, in Korea, a lot of people like to have dried squid for bar food. I was never into that.
No.
My dad likes it, though.
But like I said, it does keep with the theme and all that watery stuff. How many people here? Anchovies, yay or nay? What do you think? Hello, Mairead. I didn't get to say hi to you, darling. AJK, welcome in. Uncommon. All my wonderful mods and my gatekeepers. I love you all. Okay, enjoy this. This is going to be great. Like I said, about 13 minutes or so. Get your dried anchovies. Hey, Aunt Edna. Love you, baby. Hope you're feeling well, darling. Hope everybody's feeling
I just
great.
don't want to eat it on camera because I feel like people will get
Yeah.
grossed out. So I'm just gonna.
Oh, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
But it is a paranormal podcast, so scary is good. So, you know, here you go.
The true nature of the Bermuda Triangle, the essence of its dark patterns, has never been revealed to man. There is one person, however, who may hold a key to the secret. A distinguished author, explorer, investigator of the mysteries of the pyramids and the sea.
Deep down there, and mysterious. I'm Peter Tompkins. I spent a lifetime trying to crack some of the mysteries of this universe as a sort of sporting challenge, trying not to get caught. One of the more deceptively tranquil areas of this planet lies within the boundaries of what's known as the Bermuda Triangle. At the dead center of the triangle, I've flown over these stones built into a curious rectangle. A native sponge pen, or the submerged remains of a vanished civilization? The key to the secret of the triangle. The apex of the triangle is the British colony of Bermuda, 152 tiny islands stretched over 22 miles of open sea. Tourists that pass through every year. But in this quest, it is just a point of departure. True adventure has no guidebooks. The ocean off Bermuda is a museum of maritime disaster. The encrusted remains of the great and the small, the capsized fishing boat, the torpedoed ship of war. I've seen them before with their gaping holes and snapped spars, open for inspection. But where, among these familiar wrecks, is the ruin of the cargo ship Cotopaxi, last seen in these waters December 11th, 1925? The luxury yacht Revenac, lost en route to a New Year's Eve party in the final hours of 1957. Of a score of other ships, the records show that they must lie here. In fact, they do not. And this is but one corner of the triangle. Beneath these waters, the 20th century addition to the carnage of the sea. These are easier to find, for the airplane does not drift aimlessly before sinking. It is a dead weight that plunges from its last known position to the ocean floor. Here they join the multitude of rotting galleons, clippers, and steamers that have become a part of the bright coral off Miami. But I find no trace of the U.S. chartered DC-3, of the British airliners Star Tiger and Star Ariel, or the 5 other great airships that were lost here in a single decade. It is not the wreckage, but the absence of wreckage that holds our interest. There is no great mystery surrounding the wreck of the Gelderland. These are hard waters. No, it is not the spectacular wrecks that interest me, so much as it is the victims who vanish without trace or reason. Counting only from 1940, more than 100 planes and ships and over 1,000 human beings have set off into the triangle only to disappear, apparently forever. Many of those who live in the pleasant ports that line the edges of the triangle have been touched for one or more terrible moments by forces they've been unable to explain. Not crackpots and publicity seekers, but seasoned professionals, down-to-earth men and women, not given to flights of fancy. Such a man is Carlton Hamilton, who personally guided over 2 million aircraft safely into Miami. More than once in all his many years as an air traffic controller, he came into direct contact with forces that even he could not understand.
I had 34 years experience in air traffic control and was on duty at Miami International Tower, working from midnight until 8 in the morning, on duty with one other person at the time. The weather conditions was very good that night. At a C-46, it was en route from Bogota, Colombia to Miami, descending from 8,000 to 6,000. The pilot of this aircraft I had known for quite some time. He was an experienced pilot and had flown that route many, many times. I asked him to report leaving 6,000 feet. I did not receive this report when I thought I should, and I started calling the aircraft and could not get any response from it.
What is your
This particular C-46 pilot had the experience to know that if he had the shoreline lights in sight and something went wrong with the aircraft, to maintain a visual contact reference with those lights.
Carlton Hamilton, who has always kept meticulous records, still puzzles over the events of that night in 1949.
During this particular watch, all communications had been normal. We had experienced no difficulty with any of our radios. There was no trace of the aircraft or any of its cargo that was ever found. My belief is that the aircraft did experience total navigational failure. I believe that this was caused by some type of condition that exists in the so-called Devil's Triangle.
Here we have a controller and a pilot, both intimately familiar with electronic phenomena. Yet somehow it failed them that night, and Carlton Hamilton doesn't know how. It is the first evidence of a connection between electromagnetism and the triangle. 27 years later, in the air over Miami, they are exploring other possible explanations.
WFTL, you're on the air.
Hi, Ray. I've heard that the Coast Guard has actually sighted UFOs coming in and going out of the Bermuda Triangle. Is that true? And what do you think about that?
Well, I think people have seen UFOs entering and leaving the water in the area of the Bermuda Triangle. This area is one of the highest concentrations of UFO sightings in the world, as a matter of fact. If the Coast Guard...
It is the night of April 13, 1975. Ray Smithers, a Fort Lauderdale radio personality, is conducting a hotline show on the Bermuda Triangle.
Have to do with the Bermuda Triangle?
Interest is obviously intense, and the lines are jammed. But it is not this electric response that makes it the most memorable show in Ray Smithers' long career. Although it was later established the calls were piling up, suddenly no one would be able to get through. Smithers was about to be isolated. His studio was a total vacuum.
Let's go to another call. WFTL, you're on the air. Bermuda Triangle, you're on the air. There's no one on that line. Let's try Bermuda Triangle, you're on the air. Now those lines are dead. Let's try some other lines, see if we can get some calls on the air. Bermuda Triangle, you're on the air.
There's one of you on the program who will understand what I'm going to say. Each and every living thing on this planet has an aura. Is its communication with the millionth council who governs this planet. The area that you are discussing now is the aura of this planet. It is the communicative channel through which the millionth council governs this planet.
Which council, sir?
The millionth council.
The millionth?
Millionth.
A tape of this broadcast was sent to Los Angeles for scrutiny by voice analyst John Hickman. Studying stress variations in speech, he can tell whether a man is speaking the truth.
Disappear, but they are in the timeless void. They are all perfectly alive and well. It is the only area through which the council can communicate.
He's showing stress in that paragraph, which is the significant paragraph, on anyone going into the area, do not disappear, alive and well, and then when he says it's the only area through which the council can communicate. In conclusion, the patterns exhibited on the strip chart indicate that this was not a prank or a hoax call, and the caller believes what he is saying.
Anyone going into the area when the communicative channel is open do not disappear, but they are in the timeless void. They are all perfectly alive and well. It is the only area through which the council can communicate with this planet.
A mysterious voice in the night, talking of a timeless void. Such talk could be ignored if it went for a wealth of documentation on strange disappearances. Stepping onto a real ghost ship gives a powerful feeling of interrupted life. Who can explain away the case of the nameless schooner found drifting between Bermuda and the Bahamas on August 20, 1881? Undamaged, fully stocked with provisions, absolutely empty. And there's more. She was boarded by a prize crew from the schooner Ellen Austin. The ships were separated for 2 days by a storm. When they came together again, the nameless schooner was shipshape, but the prize crew had vanished. Even more eerie is the story that a second prize crew was placed aboard her, that the two boats stayed within 10 lengths of each other, and that not only the second prize crew, but the nameless ship itself disappeared for good. December 1946. The schooner City Belle sailed out of Nassau with 24 persons aboard. 3 days later, she was found drifting at sea, cargo intact, logbook in order, with the personal effects of 24 human beings hanging neatly on hooks. Who claim such disappearances are proof of the existence of UFOs. Advocates of these theories maintain that from a sound and stable ship, human beings do not jump into oblivion. They would have to be plucked by some extraterrestrial hand as guinea pigs for a lab in outer or inner space. Controversy is lively between the supporters of these far-out notions and those who support the most prosaic explanations, such as sharks or careless swimming, or kidnappings by ocean-going pirates.
It could have been Crispy. There's pirate friends. Be aliens. This is a song, everybody. Mystery by We Free. Well, there you go, Mr. Cho. What do you think?
I started wondering, I wonder if there were any pirates that went missing, because that's where all the pirates were.
I don't know.
We wouldn't even have any records of it if they did.
Man, I don't know. Maybe, throughout this, they do talk about, they go way back in some of these. I mean, some of these are going to take us way back, but, I don't know. I honestly, I'm not going into this one with any answers. I really picked a couple of things. You'll see guys in here giving their opinion, their theory. We're going to touch on a lot of different theories. The choice is really going to be up to you guys, and not only what they're saying here, but how it's advanced. Do we know any more now than we did then in the 70s? And I'm with all of you. Levi's corduroys, disco, the just everything about the 70s was something else. But what do you think about the radio call-in show, Donnie? I thought it was real important to put that one in there, to have that clip, not just be able to go under there and see some of the wreckage and get from a diver's point of view, somebody that's out there and was out there for probably 20, close to 30 years studying the area. Mm-hmm. But that radio show, it meant a little bit deeper to me because all of the lines were full. It was something that people wanted to call in and talk about. He had the two high-tech push-button phones there, the dial tones with the push and hold and all that. And you saw he had both of them. He was going right down the line. All the calls were jammed. It was like a vacuum and a void, and only that one call got through. Now, you had said that you thought that maybe you know what he was talking about, the millionth council. What did y'all think about that? It sounded almost like a Men in Black call, or almost like not so much of a warning, but I don't know, just an explanation that was, everything had an aura, the earth had an aura, and the Bermuda Triangle is the place of communication. Now, what do you want to say about that?
I don't think it's the actual piece of the ocean that he's referring to as the communication. I think it's what's buried underneath it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to touch a little bit on that.
I think I know what he's talking about.
There's a little bit in the videos, and I didn't know if anybody in the chat had ever thought about that. And Susan Woodcarver says she is making dinner tonight. She's listening and won't be able to chat. That's fine, honey. We love, people that listen. But go back when you can and watch these little clips because, again, a lot of people haven't seen these for years or never saw them. So we're kind of bringing them. This is our little pieces of treasure. We're pulling out from the, bottom of the ocean and old television. And thank goodness somebody recorded this on beta and shoved it in a closet and probably got covered with mildew. And then they put it on, Lord knows.
That part with the radio call-in show was very eerie and cool. I didn't know about that.
I didn't either.
Like, oh, I know what he's talking. I didn't know that council. I know what he's talking about.
Dude,
I know exactly what he's talking about.
I found some gems. Yeah. I found some gems, and it was amazing to go through like probably 8 hours of these different footage and documentaries and just pull out different theories, different thoughts. Eyewitness accounts will be a few of those, and of course some of the iconic stories. Even like the really famous ones, I do little clips on those, but I'm trying to dig out too these things. I never knew about that. Even in the Fate magazines and all the stuff I was reading, I'd never heard of this recording before, this voice message.
What year was this again?
That was actually 1975. I think it was 74, maybe 73 that the call was, but I'll have another piece of that in another video. We'll replay it and we can go back and listen to it again because it was impressive to lock down all those phones. He said it was almost like a void. He felt it. It was odd, strange energy. You're going to hear a lot about that odd, strange energy, like the magnetic pulls and just all of that kind of stuff. It's amazing.
Around that time, Sys-Cho, there was a transmission that made it onto British national TV. It was like in the mid 70s. I don't remember exactly when, but it was like mid 70s.
Oh, wow.
And this transmission just busted through, and nobody could figure out where it came from. It went on everyone's TV sets in the UK, and the thing that was talking, or the person that was talking, was saying similar stuff.
Amazing. It's almost like in that time they were trying to put out, whoever they is, trying to get information out. And I wonder what happened to that with all the electronics and things. I guess maybe there's just so much it's hard to maybe pinpoint. There's so much information now, and maybe that's it, because we really don't know what to, because we got the John Teeter, we've got the time travel stuff, we've got messages. Brian Bowden sends me stuff all the time, they're getting different hits on things out in space and stuff like that. But I can imagine at this time when something like this happened, I mean, I can't, if that happened now, it would be all over the place.
Sometimes I feel like that's why they chose that time in the 70s to like get their word in or get their message in, because they were like, man, in about 15 years, these people are about to figure out the internet, and then nobody's going to hear us. There's just going to be too much traffic and noise.
So much. Yeah. Or maybe,
could you imagine them trying to do this now, like with social media and everything? Nobody would even pay attention.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I can remember not too long ago, a couple years ago, there was this numbers thing where it was like, it was the creepiest thing you ever heard, and they were just counting 9, 8. And I guess by the time you get to 1, you're like, what? And it was calling people. Does anybody remember that?
Oh, you're talking about the number stations?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was creepy.
Those were weird.
I don't know why that's so creepy. They're just counting, or saying like phonetic alphabet, or Charlie, Alpha, Bravo, 9, 8, 7.
Yeah.
We're like, what? You don't know whether to drop the phone, or I mean, I've listened to those things. They're extremely creepy. But AJK was asking me. I am drinking Bigelow organic tea, and it is lavender, chamomile, and rose. I figured that would calm me down a little bit. It smells really nice too. But there you go, with sugar in the raw. That's it. No lemon, no milk, no nothing. Just straight up tea. But there you go. Yeah, I found that absolutely amazing. So there he is. That is Peter Tompkins and 1975. Now, what I have to do is take you back. So we took you under. We went in. You saw a little bit of the wreckage and underneath, and listened to him. And you'll see old Peter again a little bit later on. But now I got to take you way back. Now, I'm like this with this guy because. I'm just going to really kind of keep my opinion out of the whole Columbus thing, but Native American, look into that, because it wasn't so great, but the whole thing. But this part is rarely talked about, and we've got a little bit of a clip coming into. This is our, I believe this one is going to be our introduction into the Charles Berlitz book, and the movie made of that. Now, the Charles Berlitz book was 1974. It came out. I remember getting this at the used bookstore. I got it about a year or two after it came out and just devoured it. Those dog-eared copies you never give up. You just had to read it, the whole thing. It was excellently done. But the beginning shot of this is going to be a little bit about Columbus now and what he saw. And I have to read you the intro here. Bear with me as I find it. We spare no expense here on Journey Through the Gate. How's everybody doing? Good? You're doing good, aren't you?
And I'm pretty sure everyone is in the consensus that Columbus was an asshole. So if you want to let out the hate, Sys-Cho, just let it out.
Took the people, thought we were fun to play with, made us slaves, took us over there and presented us to the Queen of Spain as a gift, which is nice. Like I said, every culture's gone through something. But tonight, Christopher Columbus is an experiencer, so we're going to go that route. What do you think? So Christopher Columbus, on his initial voyage of discovery, because nobody knew it was there first, anyway, to the New World in 1492, is the first to have recorded anomalous activities in the seas around Bermuda. While his ships, the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria, were passing through the I'm going to say a lot of words wrong, forgive me. Sargasso Sea. The Italian explorer said they experienced erratic compass readings. He also saw a strange light on the horizon on October 11th, 1492, which remains unexplained today. In a 1979 documentary based on Charles Berlitz's popular book on the Bermuda Triangle, all the elements of cheap tabloid fiction came together. We love that kind of shit here. Cheap tabloid fiction came together to showcase this incident as a host of blue-green glowing UFOs. The compasses rocked as they darted to and from the surface of the sea, says one scholar, and Italian actors with poorly dubbed English lines grunted and moaned. Well, let's see a piece of that because I want to see these bad Italian actors grunt and moan. What do you say? Let's see a little bit of Columbus here, Donnie. What do you think? Recognize that book, people?
What is it? What do you see? I don't know, sir. There.
Capitan! Something is wrong! It is the compass! There is a devil in it! I haven't got a fire!
Monstro, Capitan. What manner of world is this new land we venture into?
The Bermuda Triangle. It's here, off the southeastern Atlantic coast of the United States. A triangle formed by Bermuda, Miami, San Juan, Puerto Rico. You are about to see a motion picture that will explore one of the strangest and most dangerous mysteries of our time. It's based on the best-selling book by Charles Berlitz, plus a staggering file of verified incidents, official records, and new evidence never before available. Much of the dialogue is word for word, as taken from flight recorders and the testimony of some of the people who were actually involved. Columbus's experience was just the beginning. For hundreds of years, strange incidents continued to occur in the same area, terrifying the superstitious crews of the ancient ships. Many of the stories were written up in the captain's log, like this one. For almost 2 weeks now, there has been nary a breath of wind, and we have remained becalmed, hopelessly adrift in this damnable Sargasso Sea.
We seem clutched by an invisible force, a devil's hand that held us dead in the water. There has not been a hint of a breeze for days, yet there is the sound of wind. Strange lights were sighted on the midwatch last.
Keep off the port bow! On a port, Captain!
But As she approached, we could discern no movement on deck. Nothing.
Looks to be the Westbury Star.
But she left Swansea 2 months ahead of us.
Incredible. She shows no hands, no manner of life aboard. See if you can raise her.
Aye, sir. Fire a signal cannon.
She's stripped for the wind on a port deck, Captain.
Westbury Star! Westbury Star! If you hear us, please give a sign!
Wait. I see something. She was manned by the dead and tacking to a brisk wind. But there was no wind. On my oath, no wind at all.
History gives us very little information about just how many ships disappeared in that area before the beginning of the 19th century. And most of the incredible stories told by the sailors were written off as superstition. But then, in 1800, with the disappearance of the first American naval vessel, the USS Insurgent, with all 340 crewmen aboard, convinced the authorities to begin keeping records. Within a few days, this ship, the USS Pickering, vanished with a crew of 90. Then in 1824, the USS Wasp disappeared in the same area. More and more ships disappeared without a trace. The USS Grampus, the USS Wildcat, the Mary Celeste. Then in 1881, an incredible incident took place when the American freighter Ellen Austin found a derelict ship west of the Azores.
Oh, the Mayfair! This is Captain May of the Ellen Austin. Is there anyone aboard?
Oh, not a living soul aboard.
Five points for extra for pirate voices.
Hey, it's a treasure ship. Silver bullion hand, raw silk from China.
Should show a fine profit. We'll put a prize crew on board. They can sail her back to port with us, huh?
Right, all right. Pick up the garbage. You go after and check it out there. Hey, grab the money. Grab the money!
There's treasure there. Enough for all of us. Where's my prize ship? Where's my treasure?
Where is it? Ship.
Lads, if we told this tale in every port, there'll be none who believe what we've seen this day.
Ships and men continued to vanish in the ancient Sea of Fear. And then with the advent of air travel, planes began to disappear from the sky, just as mysteriously as ships did from the sea.
Well, there you go. That
Yeah.
had a little bit of everything, time after time. That was just a sampling of all of these accounts of they would find a ship, and even to the point of having a rope pulled, and the rope would just cut off at the end and just drop into the water. The ship would disappear. Storms would rage out of nowhere. Wind would come out of nowhere. They would have sails that were barely moving. There's account after account of being in the doldrums. Have you ever heard that? You know, old saying, I'm in the doldrums, I'm feeling low, you know, I'm kind of down. That's where it comes from, being in the doldrums. You saw it in Black Sails, Donnie. I know we talked about that, where it just stayed. There's no wind and they're stuck and they're out of food and they're bored and they're going mad. What do you think? That's some older accounts. That's the Bermuda Triangle, the movie based on the book. And that's just a couple clips.
Well, my first thought is I like how you mix the modern music over the old-timey 70s stuff. I thought that was a very cool effect.
Thank you.
Yeah. I noticed that.
Thank you so much.
Did he say that the Mary Celeste got lost in the Bermuda Triangle? I thought the Mary Celeste was off the coast of Portugal or the Strait of Gibraltar.
I don't know. There's been so many ships between pirates, and now I don't want to say wrong, so I'm just going to say I don't know. That's what he said, though. That's what he said, because that was one of those that slapped up. And then at the end, I showed I think that picture was probably around 80. That's how many ships. That was just ships that were lost. They weren't even counting the airplanes yet. And then at the very end, he mentioned about Flight 19. And again, you're going to hear Flight 19 all the way through. And if we have time, I have about a 10-minute video at the end that's just them. There were so many things going on there. Feelings of doom, feelings of I shouldn't get on this flight. I just feel like I shouldn't go on this one. So, you know, and you'll hear accounts about that if we get a chance to play it at the end. If you guys want to see it, I'll ask you. But I do have a little bit of information about Flight 19 because, again, that was one of them I had read in Fate magazine, and it just had, you know, my young preteen heart just thumping and scared to death. Nobody could explain it to me. This was one of the things that I think even more than ghosts, this was getting more into the, oh, that's just crazy stuff. Just like the guy at the end said, no matter how many times and how many ports we went in and how many times we told this story, nobody's ever going to believe it. But how many do you have to have? It's just like ghost stories or, you know, UFO sightings or Bigfoot sightings or, you know, whatever your, you know, the paranormal flavor of the day is. How many before a coincidence, you know, is no longer fits, you know? I mean, it just gets to the point where it's just beyond coincidence for this stuff to continue to happen. What did you say, Ian? A Flight 19 had a lieutenant in charge. Mystery solved. Okay. You know what? I've met a few butter bars that would absolutely apply to. In fact, just about every one of them. No, present company accepted. I mean, no kidding. You know. I mean,
I don't understand that.
Well, a lieutenant is usually someone's coming out of officer school, and lieutenants would be, in my time, I can only speak for myself and for the reputation that got when I was in in the 80s. But it was basically they would be the ones that would be so overzealous. They're trying to go by what they learned in officer school, whereas the sergeant non-coms and troops basically learned on with the boots on the ground by
I
actually
thought it was
doing
different
stuff.
for pilots, though. No.
I would say probably that early officer, they haven't really been, they know everybody has a place and a purpose. But if you're going to go into a situation, the basic military feeling for anybody that's under those people
Okay,
would
I
say,
get
I'll
it.
follow that sergeant before I follow that
I
lieutenant
get
any
it.
day.
It was
And
it was kind of like that
you
guy
want to
from
stay alive.
Aliens.
Yeah. If
That
you wanna
one
stay alive.
officer from Aliens who was like really crappy, but he was like the
Yeah.
officer because he went out of the academy. Okay, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and that was my experience too, and I can tell you from reading a lot of Vietnam books, like I've always said on this show when I was a kid, and Civil War. It seemed to be that way because you're a brand new officer with a lot of responsibility, not a lot of on the ground experience. That makes sense. Whereas,
Okay.
you have your sergeants, they move their way up by doing the stuff that he's telling other people how to do. I
Okay.
remember asking a lieutenant one time, just trying to throw him a bone because we were learning. I forget what they called it, but basically it was in the sand, in the dirt, like you've seen 1,000 different officers do, drawing out what we were going to go do the maneuver. And it had red string, crossfire. It was crossfire. We were going to be shooting, and that was tracers. And he couldn't answer the question. And I felt bad because I was doing it to kind of throw him a bone because he was kind of talking. He wasn't very well liked. And I'll never do that again because I thought he'd know the answer because I did. And I was just a lowly private at the time. So there you go. So that's that. That was a smattering. Like I said, it's pretty much all of the accounts. You're going to count after account after account of winds coming out of nowhere, storms coming out of nowhere, seeing a ship, boarding a ship, getting back off like those guys did. It was full of treasure, disappeared, or just
Talk about
squadrons.
disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine? So
Man.
this one, Flight 19, I'm going to read this little snippet about them just so you have it because it is a real important case. You guys probably know just as much about it as I do. Like I said, I'm learning along with you guys on this. I've never been able to put my finger on this. It's just so many different things it could be. Flight 19 was a training flight of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared December 5th, 1945. While over the Atlantic, the squadron's flight plan was scheduled to take them due east from Fort Lauderdale for 141 miles north for 73 miles and then back over a final 140 miles leg to complete the exercise. The flight never returned to base. The disappearance was attributed by naval investigators to navigational error leading to the air traffic running out of fuel. That was the official pilot error, right? One of the search and rescue aircraft deployed to look for them, a PBM Mariner with a 13-man crew, also disappeared. Now think about that. The rescue crew sent after them also disappeared. Now,
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, if it's some kind of magnetic pull, a portal, they were there at the same time. They were coming from a different direction from where they left, going out to rescue them, and bam, both of them. Incredible. That's just something. A tanker off the coast of Florida reported seeing an explosion and observing a widespread oil slick when fruitlessly searching for the survivors. The weather was becoming stormy by the end of the incident. According to sources, the Mariner had a history of explosions due to vapor leaks when heavily loaded with fuel, as it might have been for a potentially long search and rescue operation. Again, those are all your basic military. Well, we got to come up with a reason for this. We don't really know that much more, Donnie.
Can I ask you, Sys-Cho?
Sure.
Do you know much about the planes themselves in Flight 19? What were they called again? They were called Avengers?
Yes, they were. I'm sure somebody in the chat very well might. That's
Anyone
not
here
one
an
of my strong
aviation
suits.
expert? I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how reliable those planes were.
TBM Avenger torpedo bombers. Yeah.
Those are torpedoes. So wait, what do you mean?
Bombers.
So they drop torpedoes into water?
They would have, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, or on air, would land wherever
So they're used to like, I guess, hunt
Yeah, they're
down
bombers.
submarines.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these are pretty trusty little craft. I mean, the one the daggone more, right? I
How
don't
come
know.
there are no aviation experts speaking up?
I don't
I feel
know.
like there'll be like
Hey,
10 people
Blue,
saying.
are you in here? I thought I saw Blue go by for a second. I
Glenn
wonder if you knew
Anderson,
anything
Chris
about
Jarvis, Vixen. Do any of you guys know? Were they like reliable to fly?
I mean, that's a lot, though. I mean, the thing is if it was one, but it's a whole squadron. Everybody's stuff had to go at the same time. So if you think about it, like when we have a UFO sighting,
Oh,
right?
there we go.
And
Very
everything.
reliable.
There you go.
Yeah.
Standard Navy carrier bomber. There you go. Thanks, Glenn. If you hear an account of like a UFO coming, that's why I have the UFOs and stuff in there too, because really it could be anything, or it could be all connected. It could all be very much of the same thing, if we're thinking about things being connected. But when the UFO comes, the car will stop, the battery will go, lights flicker on and all kinds of things. So I don't know. The storm thing kills me. The wind just coming out of nowhere. And to the point where you've got a rope going across because you've got to, get it to where your ship is next to that ship and you're staying together. People can get across and go and get the treasure or whatever they're going to check the boat. And it's just gone. And the rope just falls into the water. It cuts off like part of that rope went with, It's crazy. Well, there you go. That's it. And a little bit about Flight 19. The next one is, you're going to love this one, Donnie. This one is a little piece. It's still from the Charles Berlitz movie. And again, you can see the whole movie in its entirety on Weird Lectures on YouTube for free. And I suggest you do, because all of it together, it's fantastic. It reminds me so much of Chariots of the Gods. But that's this one. And this one got the eyewitnesses and a little bit of what some brilliant minds thought about the Bermuda Triangle, like Einstein and Plato, and not, the philosopher, not the clay wasn't Plato great? How much did you...
Plato.
And I saw somebody saying something about G.I. Joes. We did have the damn toys, man. We had the toys back in the day. I liked G.I. Joes. I kept getting Barbies. So what I would do secretly is my G.I. Joes, of course she would get kidnapped. She'd break an ankle because she had those shoes. And she would get kidnapped, and G.I. Joes would have to rescue her. And I'm sure that was very non-feminist of me, wasn't it? But back
I
in
used
the
to do something
70s,
similar.
everybody, all the women who ran broke their damn ankle every single movie. So there you go. And fell down. We got better as it went along. But yeah, this was called Eyewitnesses, and a little bit of Edgar Casey and stuff. Let's see what they felt about it. And I know you've got some stuff you want to add on this, Donnie. So this one's kind of for you. Let me make sure I'm hitting the right square. All the technical stuff here. Number 4, 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, 3. I think it's this one. It's good so far.
Oh, they
You
still
having
use
fun?
Avengers for like putting out forest fires? That's kind of cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. And Sauer says, yep, magnetic earth fields can also play a big part. Absolutely. I mean, I think everything it has to be considered here with the ley lines and everything else, but not everything. It's like everything in this category, paranormal, supernatural. Not every theory connects all the dots. Something is happening very similar to a lot of these different ships, and the people that can almost get through it, and you'll see it in this one, barely making it out, what they saw and how they felt before. And I think that all is very important to play a part on trying to come together with a theory on this. So let's give this one a whirl. 1, 2, 3. I think this is the right one. Yep. Look at me.
And although Charles Wakely survived to tell his incredible story, it may be that the Bermuda Triangle eventually brought about his sudden death. Wakely was a professional pilot with over 10 years' experience at the time of the incident. He was completing a routine flight. After dropping off charter passengers in Nassau, he was on his way back to Miami. The weather was very clear, and the stars were crisp and shining. From that moment, Charles Wakely was determined to explore the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle.
Bermuda Triangle, case history number 31. Alice Johnson. Subject was flying from Bermuda to Miami. Halfway to destination, subject had an encounter with an unknown force.
Yes, I admit the glowing wings, the eerie light, the same feeling of horror, just like the other pilots who don't want to talk about it.
Wakely's research ended tragically that night in 1974. The killer and the motive are still a mystery.
I'm frightened. I want to forget this thing. I want to go on living.
Just what is out here? Is it some unseen force in the air? Or on the surface of the water? Or maybe lurking below? Some anomalies are known to exist out here. For instance, most seamen and pilots are aware of two navigational quirks in the Bermuda Triangle. One is called dead spots, which causes radios to go out. The other is a variation in magnetic compasses, which in the triangle point to true north instead of toward magnetic north. And there is another mystery of the Bermuda Triangle that no one can deny, because you can see it, touch it. It's right out here, just off the Bahamas. The luminous glowing of the mysterious white waters. Columbus was the first to see it when he entered the New World. And it's the last view of Earth when the astronauts rocket through space toward the moon. The phenomenon still baffles modern science. But the Greek philosopher Plato may have had the answer, along with the ancient Egyptians and the world-renowned psychic Edgar Cayce. They were all agreed the fabled continent of Atlantis sank into the sea in this area some 12,000 years ago.
I'm just going to stop it right there real quick because that's Edgar. But I didn't want to overshadow the fact that why are people being killed that are looking into the Bermuda Triangle? As you can see, that man was studying witness accounts and things like that and digging. What was he digging into that would get him killed? He's not the only one. So what do you think, Donnie? What don't they want us to know? What would be going on in the Bermuda Triangle that somebody thinks we shouldn't find out? What are your thoughts on that before we go into Edgar?
I mean, I would need to know like what he was looking into exactly, like which particular cases. Or,
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard to say unless you know like exactly what he was researching.
He was, what I read on him was basically he was he had his experience. He's doing just what we're doing. And he wanted to dig and find out from other witnesses, basically like we do. I had an experience, I saw a ghost. I'm reading other ghost stories to see if it looked the same, it sounded the same. What was I doing? Did I cause it? Can I do it again and make it happen again? What's going on? And I think that's all he was doing. He wasn't contacting government. He wasn't up in, the army bases or anything like that, or knocking on the embassy door and going, my plane turned green and my stuff went crazy. And he was just studying. And somebody got the word, and that was it. It killed him. And like I said, it's not the only one. And Steve and I always say on this too is like people looking up the assassination of Lincoln 150 years later, almost 160 years later, getting killed for it. I don't understand what's going on if they don't want us to know. What's the secret they're trying to keep? A lot of people are coming up and saying Atlantis, aliens living on the bottom of the sea. Oh, good night, Fast Hemi. Thanks for coming in, honey. Have a wonderful day tomorrow and a wonderful night's sleep. Dream of the Bermuda Triangle, but don't turn green and disappear. We love you. Come back. See you tomorrow night, probably. When aren't they hiding? Chris is saying they're hiding something. Absolutely. And they don't want us to know about it. There's a little bit about again, the glowing sea and all that stuff. And I guarantee you Columbus wasn't the first to see it. We got to stop saying that. Other people saw it before him. They just didn't write it down.
I'm pretty sure the Chinese made it there before he did.
Yeah. I mean, and Vikings and,
and
just,
Vikings
and, no offense, but we were there. So,
Guy just takes all the credit, man.
Absolutely. And he gets a parade.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's good Italian food, so there's something in it for everybody, I guess. There you go. So here it is, a little bit more on Edgar Casey. This one goes another 10 minutes, so if anybody wants a break or, you're out of popcorn.
I'll go smoke, but I'll still be here listening.
Still be here? Okay, this is your part. You're up next.
All right, I'll smoke real quick.
Here we go. No, take your time. You got a good
All
10
right.
minutes here.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Thousands of people around the world have followed the startling revelations of Edgar Casey, who predicted many years before they happened certain earthquakes, the assassination of U.S. presidents, even the highly sophisticated developments like the powerful laser. Could the White Waters somehow be connected with Casey's claim that Atlantis is lying underwater here off Bimini?
Many.
This sonar scan shows a large mass on the sea bottom, which plainly outlines something shaped like an immense pyramid. The height is estimated at 420 feet, with a base of 540 feet, very close to the dimensions of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Almost 100 prehistorians and archaeologists believe that the lost world of Atlantis did exist. These scientific investigators place Atlantis exactly where Plato, the Egyptians, and Casey said it was, at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. In 1940, Edgar Casey predicted the first portions of Atlantis would be discovered off Bimini in 1968. As if to fulfill this curious archaeological prediction, 28 years later, in 1968, oceanographer Dr. J. Manson Valentine and 3 associates discovered an extensive wall of irregular stones, shaped and accurately aligned, forming what is now known as the Bimini Road or Wall, whose exposed section alone measures over 900 feet long. Our own history records the cataclysmic destruction of whole civilizations, like Pompeii, buried by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius before the birth of Christ. Some experts seriously believe that an advanced culture like Atlantis could have existed 12,000 years ago, and its wealth of knowledge was buried with it in a sudden calamity. In 1933, Edgar Cayce described ruins that lay below the waters of Bimini, where an immense energy of the stars was concentrated, stored in a powerful crystal called the Tuawi stone, radiated energy which Cayce believed this prism-like device drew its immense power from the universe itself, from magnetic forces which were ultimately pushed to such extremes that the Atlanteans unleashed uncontrollable forces of nature from the very bowels of the earth itself. Were Plato and Edgar Cayce correct? Is Atlantis here, under the water off Bimini? And what about that powerful Tuawi stone Cayce spoke of? That magnetic force crystal that harnessed the awesome power of the stars? Could it still be down there somewhere, below the waters off Bimini, perhaps still active? In some circles is a sort of anti-gravity tunnel, visible only as a whirlpool in the sea. An inverse magnetic field capable of altering the molecular structure of any physical property entering it. Well, this may seem fantastic. There is a woman who actually witnessed just such a vortex. Her name is Helen Miser. The date, August 25th, 1971.
I know my story sounds very fantastic, but it is true. Please believe me, I knew nothing of science or such complicated things as gravity. On that day, I was just a tourist, enjoying my flight from Miami to Nassau on a beautiful sunny morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Breakfast will be served in a few minutes. Everything all right?
Please, everyone. Lads, close things. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please have your attention? Captain Marshall has just informed us that it may be necessary
If someone had told me that such things could have happened in the Bermuda Triangle, I would never have believed them. But now I know that anything is possible.
Terrified and near panic like the other passengers, Elaine Miser completely forgot the camera she was holding. So she didn't get a photograph of the strange whirlpool. But later, she and other passengers aboard Flight 51 compared accounts of what they had seen. And she drew this picture of the vortex. Frau Miser was a very lucky woman. She survived a terrifying experience with a magnetic vortex. Others have not been so fortunate.
There you go, guys. A little trip back in time with those Fate magazine and Argosy covers. I mean, just seeing those, I was like, oh man, I could almost taste the candy in the penny bag, you know, in the little tiny little brown bags this big. They were adorable. And having that Fate magazine and just trying to running up the stairs, slamming the door to your room, jumping on the bed and just opening it, you know, and just, you know, oh God, it was something. So what do you think? I mean, that's a little bit of everything in there,
A little bit of everything.
I mean, so much with the electronic, you know, it's not my wheelhouse. I don't even pretend to understand. I mean, I know that there's energy and everything. We had great comments in here about crystals being part of everything. Absolutely. Crystal skulls. I mean, crystals hold information. Crystals, you know, they give us... the quartz crystal actually magnifies the power of other crystals. There's so much to this. And Donnie, I know this is more your wheelhouse than mine. So, you know,
I know nothing about crystals. I'm not.
Well, no,
yeah.
I'm talking about, like, is it Atlantis? I mean, you've got the form of a pyramid with ground penetrating. They were just getting into that. Well, they probably, the military and the government had it earlier than they let you know, trust me. But the ground penetrating,
I believe they actually have video evidence of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe they actually have video evidence. Like someone actually brought a submersible down there and filmed it.
I mean, why not? I mean, how precise do you have to get, right? Where it almost exactly matches the measurements of the pyramids we know of in Egypt. And think those things have been sand blown for a couple thousand years. So weren't they mostly covered in gold at they're saying now?
Well, here's the thing, the Great Pyramid of Giza has been gutted thoroughly.
Really?
So what you're seeing of the Great Pyramid of Giza is basically just the under layer, like the outer layer is totally gone.
Totally gone. So
Totally gone.
the measurements, we all know from, come on, admit it. We've all watched Ancient Aliens with the guy with the hair. What's his name? Geraldo or whatever? No, that's Geraldo.
Giorgio Tsoukalos.
There it is. And the hair. And he does it on purpose.
That guy
and
rules,
why not?
by the way.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
I like, he's my favorite. I like him.
I'm not an Ancient Aliens proponent by any means. I just love his hair, and I love the fact that he smokes weed. I just think that guy's so cool.
I like his energy,
Yeah.
and I love that he's always got the pin. And I know that has huge significance. Again, not my wheelhouse, but I want to do this stuff so I can learn too right along, because Lord knows I've got big gaps in a lot of the paranormal supernatural that's so great, and this is such a big subject, But now Edgar Cayce.
Actually, a little bit of an aside though. Do you know why Giorgio? I looked a little bit into his life story. Do you know why he's kind of the way he is? Because both of his parents were like really into UFOs and paranormal, and they would just talk about it all day at the dinner table, and they were just into it,
so
right?
Cool. I like him even more.
So he as a little kid, he grew up with parents who were like openly talking about it all the time. And that's how he developed.
And he's just freewheeling. He's got his hair going. I mean, there's people in there, anything on TV is going to be scripted, and they're only going to let you say what you're going to say. But I believe that everybody in there really has the same that we have, just the wonder of it all. And I want to learn and to be an archaeologist and dig all that, But it's the bureaucracy, and it's like with anything, just being a soldier, rules of engagement,
It's also like judgmental family members. Like, I can't bring up any paranormal stuff to my parents. They'll just judge the crap out of me.
Really?
And they like, work on your credit score.
All right, so nobody tell Donnie's parents what Donnie's doing right now. Everybody, mum's the word. But what about what Edgar and Plato, and we're going to hear a little bit more about what Einstein thought too, because their consciousness, if nothing else, you have to think their consciousness has got to be raised, being able to be open-minded enough to allow the thoughts to breathe. Do you know what I mean by that? It's like what I was trying to do with the lady, say what you want to say about the lady who married the pirate. I think she believes it, and if you just let go and go, okay, let's just stop trying to.
Oh, nice try, Sean. Nice try. I saw that.
I didn't see it. Should I know? Or just don't pay attention?
Thankfully, my parents don't speak English, so I'm safe.
There you go. But the thing is just open. Instead of thinking and blocking it, just open your mind. Imagine what if. What if? A lot of these things you have to do that way. And, I believe these sailors, a lot of these people would never, like he said, go to the pub or go to the port. They're going to go to the pub. They get paid. They go to the pub. They sit around. They talk. They get a couple of beers. And you got that one guy who won't talk to anybody. It's like, what's wrong with him? You won't believe what he just saw. Don't ask him. That's incredible, these stories. The lady, she's, please believe me. I saw this. And I don't know what she saw. A vortex? A portal?
What interested me was the green haze. Because that was the other guy, the green haze.
Yes,
and that
so
plays
many.
The green haze is going to play a part a little bit later too with some of the stuff I've got. So
totally. And you feel free to bring it up anytime you want. If you want to bring up the green haze now, we'll do it.
Once we go into the Devil Sea stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Well, I'll tell you what I've got next. I have something that has a little bit of a green haze. Now, it definitely plays a part in this. I think just about everything that we've seen so far plays a part in this. And Blue, you asked me something earlier. Donnie, had you ever seen this acronym before? Because I think I wrote it down. Blue, can you pop that in again? Because the chat's been really moving, and I'm trying to keep an eye on it, but I'm having a problem with one of my screens. But
what acronym?
It was an acronym about, it was AUTEC? No, AUTEC. AUTEC? I'm sure it's an acronym for something, but there's so many acronyms.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with that.
Because I believe he put it up. We were talking about why would anybody kill somebody that was looking into this, and somebody said, was there a lot of people? Yes, a lot of people have been killed looking into this. Of course you can't prove it, but when in the situation of that gentleman we saw get shot in the back of the head through his window, there's another one I think coming up in this one where a man was looking into it, and they killed him by putting a
I
hose
think
in his exhaust pipe and sticking it in his window.
I feel like in order for me to have any opinion about that, I would need to know more details about the nature of the murder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And,
And
like,
somebody in the chat said, and who did he tell he was looking into it? Because as
and
far as
what
I know,
exactly was he looking into?
Right,
Was he looking
right.
into like some like missing military vessel? Was he looking into like a missing boat or a plane or?
I think it was pretty much what I got. The gist of it is, like I said, he was looking into witness statements because he was trying to figure out what happened to him. That's the gist I got. It could be
Okay.
deeper. I don't know. I'm no expert on it. Looking up flat earther ghost hunter in Korean as we speak.
I don't think there's even a word for flat earth in Korean.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh. Drain the ocean and we will find out, says Salvador. That's awesome. Well, this one is.
By the way, I'm not a flat earther, folks. Just
Yeah.
putting it out there.
Man, I don't even want to, because that's just crazy. I mean, I can't figure out we're trying to figure out what's going on in this tiny little triangle, and we can't figure it out. This whole thing is just madness, But this next one, now you decide if you want to do your stuff now, get the slides and everything else, because I had a little surprise in the Bermuda movie. I had forgotten it was there, and it opened up a whole nother aspect of this to me.
Okay, well.
So do you want to do it? Because what I've got after this is the Philadelphia experiment. I know,
Okay,
and
well,
it really,
actually,
you know what I mean?
Can I just say,
Yes,
I'll just say
absolutely.
one thing
Sure.
before we go, because I actually kind of want to see the Philadelphia experience.
Yeah, no, I was shocked. I'm like, oh,
We
I
could
was
do
so
my
excited.
stuff later. I could wait. I kind of want to see this. But the one thing I do have to say is a lot of people think about Atlantis as one place. So there's a lot of argument out there where Atlantis could be. There are some people who think it's where Bimini Road is. Other people say that it could be in Antarctica. Other people say it's off the Strait of Gibraltar or the Eye of the Sahara. There's so many theories and ideas out there, but you got to consider that Atlantis was not one place. It was an empire that spanned multiple continents. Right? I mean, when you think of America, do you just picture New York City? No, America's a lot more than just New York City, right? But people in other countries who don't know America very well, first thing they think is New York City. And that's what people think about Atlantis. They think of it as this one island nation that was all
Makes
paradise.
perfect sense. Yeah.
No, it was a multiple continent spanning empire. They had colonies everywhere. They had a lot of territory. There was a lot of trade and everything going on with that. So when I talk about with the Great Pyramid of Giza, right, it's been stripped because it was there in Egypt. There have been people there thousands of years, but there have been also other parts of, let's say, the Atlantean Empire that went under the ocean, because 11,000 years ago, keep in mind, the ocean levels were 300 feet lower than they are today. That's a lot of feet.
That is.
So that's a lot of land that
huge.
once was there, that's gone.
Right.
So with what I read, when they were talking about that pyramid being down there, right?
You're right. They did, yeah.
There were some pyramids that stayed above land and got gutted by the people. Other ones that went under the ocean, they're still intact and they're still semi-operational. Is all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
Now, do you see what Blue put up here? This is the acronym. Atlantic Undersea Test Eval Center.
Oh, I have no idea about that.
Yeah.
Are they testing stuff down there?
I got it written down. I mean, man, we can get into Antarctica. We can get into all kinds of stuff. Like I said, it's doors wide open. Lots of doors, long hallway, plenty of doors. We just got to open them and figure out what's going on, because the thing is it's like, in my mind right now, it's like every conspiracy I've learned throughout my life is like starting to go connected to each other, go, whoa. And I think the paranormal and the supernatural is the same. We've been saying it all along. All of this is connected. So I'm trying to figure out where these people went. Is it like the voice said? You know, the one that called into the radio show, Donnie, in 1974, 75, and said that, what was he calling that? The millennial...
The Millionth Council.
The Millionth Council.
That's not the name I've heard them go by, but I think I know what council he's talking about.
Well, go ahead. Now, I've got your... Now, do you want to do Philadelphia Experiment first?
Oh, no, I'm kind of impatient for a Philadelphia Experiment.
All
I
right.
want to see that first.
Well, we're going to do the version that came...
I love this story, by the way.
I was so surprised. And now I saw, as a little appetizer for this, in my mind's eye, I remember being young. Now, if you guys saw this, let me know what it was. And it was a reenactment of the Philadelphia Experiment. I would swear it was an Unsolved Mysteries or Sightings. And they reenacted it. And when the ship came back, soldiers were melted. The sailors were melted into the metal of the ship. Some of them were halfway out and hanging out. They just melted into whatever they were standing next to. Some of them into each other. It was absolutely ghastly. I'm thinking that in this version they didn't go that far because they were putting it on TV in like 75, I think this was. And
that would be something you put in a horror movie, like
Yeah.
a rated R horror movie with like gore and everything.
So when I saw it
would've
was
been
probably in
disturbing.
the 80s, because this had a G rating.
Yeah.
When this came out,
If you wanted to show what it probably really looked like, you would have to make it rated R.
Yeah.
It would have been gnarly to see.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But this
Could you
one
imagine
does.
two people just fused together like that?
No,
What would
oh my
that
God.
even look like?
Oh my God.
That'd be like something out of a John Carpenter film.
I was seeing if anybody put up what they thought, because I mean it was specific. I remember being horrified as I was like a preteen. I was probably like 12, but I mean it horrifies you. Do you remember that, Susan? Do you think it was sightings or because I'm trying to find if I can find that and it'll let me play it, because like I said, I gotta run this stuff through and nobody cares about this stuff. Nobody's watching it. Nobody even bothered to add it to a gift set or something, or greatest hits, paranormal 1970s paranormal's great. I guess we're doing the greatest hits, aren't we? So anyway, that's this version, but I do think they get more detailed with what happened to the guys after and a little bit of in between. So here we go. Without further ado, this is also a clip from the Bermuda Triangle. I'm telling you, it's a good movie. So there you go.
And although Charles Wakely survived...
Muted. Sys-Cho, you're muted.
Sorry, guys, that was the wrong one. Let me see if it's this one. Some of these little boxes are hard to see, so just
Oh, it
bear
looks like
with
the
me.
Large Hadron Collider just came back online. Well, that's good news.
That is good news. There you go. See, we're making good things happen here. Send out good energy. If everything's energy, send out good. Maybe good will come back to you. Isn't that what Tater said?
I guess they'll
Bad
be
brings bad, good brings
I guess
good.
they'll be discovering new forms of physics that none of us will have any hope of ever understanding in our lifetimes.
Wow.
Yay.
Yay. I'm excited about it. Here we go. Philadelphia Experiment. Take 2. Yeah, I think so.
Is it possible? Based on Einstein's complex unified field theory, many scientists believe that strong concentrations of magnetism, such as occur in the triangle, might actually alter the molecular structure of matter, causing it to disappear, or even be pulled into another dimension. Following publication of his startling book in 1955, Dr. M.K. Jessup, the world-renowned astronomer and scientific philosopher, received a letter that was to add a new dimension to his life's work. Dr. Jessup's book had called upon his colleagues in the scientific community for a reappraisal of Einstein's disturbing unified field theory. But he was totally unprepared for the letter.
My dear colleague, for reasons that will become apparent, I shall identify myself only as Carl W. Allen, and inform you, as my conscience demands, that Einstein's theory has been brought to reality with some shocking results. The Philadelphia experiment was the code name for secret tests conducted by the Navy in October of 1943 aboard the USS Eldridge, a destroyer that had been specially fitted with unique electrical and electronic equipment. For all intents and purposes, the tests were for camouflage development. Based upon the Einstein calculations, the Navy had 4 huge generators especially designed and built. These were to produce massive flux fields, which, when counterposed, would create an envelope of sorts about the test ship, a magnetic smoke screen, if you will.
We've installed 4 generators on the destroyer. 1 on the flying bridge, 1 amidships, and 2 aft. When we begin this experiment, the varying potentials of the generators should alter the structure of the atmosphere around the ship, resulting in a color combining with the sea.
You mean to make the destroyer invisible?
Not strictly, sir. The ship will be hiding under a traveling magnetic canopy of sorts.
We're ready, sir.
Good. Please be seated, sir. Proceed with the countdown.
Now hear this! Now hear this! All stations stand by for ready reports.
Station 4, all systems. Station 6, after bank loops closed and reading.
Shunt power to start. We have a ready from the Eldridge, sir. Lock monitor. We have a command. Coming up on the mark and counting. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4.
After the test was completed and the equipment shut down, the Eldridge vanished again, for no reason.
It's coming back.
The Eldridge reappeared just as suddenly a few minutes later. The immediate after effects produced retching sickness and considerable painful symptoms among the men. Horrid. But what happened later was far worse. The test was an unqualified success for the equipment, Jessup, but an utter failure for the crew that had been exposed to something far worse than nuclear radiation. Only the lucky ones went mad.
Yeah, I saw him there. Don't tell me he wasn't there. Don't tell me he wasn't there. I saw him. He was right next to me, and I looked over at him. He was gone. He wasn't there anymore. He was not anymore.
Many of these poor men continued to experience a trans-dimensional phenomenon, completely destroying any chance they may have had for normal lives. They've become freaks, Jessup. Freaks that were quickly and carefully snatched into seclusion. To avoid embarrassing questions, they've become nothing more than carefully preserved specimens, Jessup. I've seen them myself. Human beings reduced to the level of laboratory animals. My dear Jessup, in our responsibility to science, can we forget our humanity? I leave it to you to decide if further work shall be put into this or not. I write in hopes there will be.
Allen's letter set Jessup upon an exhaustive 5-year search for the truth. And in spite of threats, insults, and coercions, Jessup continued to probe right up to the last bizarre moments of an April night in 1959.
Listen, I've reached some fantastic conclusions regarding that Philadelphia experiment, and I've got to see you right away.
How about tomorrow?
No, right away, tonight.
Fine.
Good, I'll be there in an hour with all my notes.
But neither Jessup nor his papers ever arrived at that meeting. Why?
Suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. White male Caucasian, approximately 62 years. No papers, notes, or effects. Dispatch coroner and ID unit.
No papers or effects were found with Dr. Jessup's body. Why? Did such a fantastic project as the Philadelphia experiment ever really take place? We don't know for sure. But to date, at least a dozen books have been written about it. The key question is this. Did the government have a top-secret project involving the Eldridge and an application of Einstein's unified field theory? A Princeton scientist who claimed he worked on the early stages of the project says that he saw a handwritten sheet of complex mathematical calculations pertaining to the project, and that he recognized the handwriting as that of Albert Einstein himself. Some people claim that high-ranking research officers persuaded the Navy to let them use this ship, the Eldridge, just as soon as she was built. Interestingly, the logbook for the Eldridge is missing. The pages for the first 3 months of her service. Why? This is a picture of the dry dock where the Eldridge was built, filed top secret for 22 years. Another interesting note is that the Eldridge later experienced an unusually high desertion rate. For some reason, her crewmen kept jumping ship in greater than average numbers. Could it be that there was still some lingering after effects of that mysterious experiment? In this era of vigorous investigative reporting, as demonstrated by such exposés as the Pentagon Papers and Watergate, we find it baffling that even after 35 years, witnesses still refuse to talk about the Philadelphia experiment. And it is worthy of note that the Office of Naval Research categorically states that the incident never took place. This is the book by Jessup, which sparked Allen's letter. In it, Dr. Jessup theorizes that UFOs appear and disappear in a Bermuda Triangle, using much the same techniques as were reported in the Philadelphia experiment.
Love that. God damn, that's awesome.
You know, I gotta have fun, man. That is just awesome, isn't it? Okay.
That just overwhelmed the whole film. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that just came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, wow.
Like,
that caught me off guard.
I got a couple surprises for you, Donnie.
Yeah.
I told you it's going to be a long show.
That was
I'm
like
sorry,
a left hook
guys,
out
if
of
it's
nowhere.
late. I got to get up early too, but
I was like all deep in thought, and all of a sudden I see a cat get sucked into a UFO.
Yeah, to like my little
kind of
cow.
jarring.
The little UFO was coming out from behind the bar, and a cow would look, and a UFO would hide again, and it'd come out after him.
Now,
you got to have fun with this stuff.
In terms of like the woo factor, this one is up there. This one is up there.
Yeah. Well, see, you've got everything now. Again, you know, energy. We're on here all the time saying energy. We're all connected. Now, this is changing molecular structure. It's the same, somebody said in here too about the transporter in Star Trek, beam me up, Scotty. All of this, the I think even the cloak of invisibility, if you've ever, we'll have to talk one night, do the whole book, Robert Guthrie with Camelio. If you guys have not read the book or heard an interview with Robert Guthrie, Guffey, I'm sorry, Guffyey. Just, if you don't want to read the book, just go look up Where Did the Road Go with Zariah Askath and look up Robert Guffey, because you're going to get an interview from, I haven't heard better. And it's amazing how the two of them going at it. Basically, the overall is military equipment, cloak of invisibility, all of these different things, Philadelphia experiment to the max. So if they're doing this back in when was the year? I forget. I'm sorry. What are they doing now? So you have to take that in. I still say it's all connected. What are you thinking, Donnie?
I think that if there was like a mathematical theory out there that said that it was possible, of course the military would try it.
Oh, yeah.
Of course they would try to experiment.
Tesla and everything else, but why? You have to also, if you're going to back up enough and wonder why they don't want us to know these things. What is it with the giants and, Atlantis and Bermuda Triangle? It's killing people. People looking into it and dying. You know what I mean? It's studying and trying to uncover the answers because we just want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
You know why they do it? I know why they do it. Because it's easy to do and they can get away with it.
And they can get away with it. And here you've got, again, these guys taking off. You heard the letter. I believe the letter. I have nothing other than you guys saw. I know I read it way back in the day. I've forgotten most of this, as a child, putting all the connections. Some of it, is almost like seeing it for the first time in some cases. But... it's like Tuskegee Airmen. It's like everything else. Come on, we know they've been doing this forever. But they take these guys, and because they screwed up, these guys probably thought they were out there just doing a great experiment. We're going to, the war was just over. So this is what, 48? Was it 40? Was it that late? Almost the 50s? Or was it earlier than that? Because it seemed to me they said that the war was just over. So, I mean, I don't want to misquote it.
Also, we have to consider, like... I'm not saying that this definitely happened. I'm open to the possibility, but I do know a bit about science, and I am also, other than being a history nerd, I'm also a bit of a space nerd. And I do know that modern science and physics, academic physics, they still don't fully deeply understand the nature of magnetism and electromagnetism.
Yeah, that's why
they can predict what
around.
It does.
Yeah.
They could fit it nicely in a math equation. But there's still a lot of things about magnetism that we as a modern society just still don't quite have our heads wrapped around. Yeah. So
well,
I'm not saying it definitely happened, but it is plausible.
But the way they're learning too, it's almost, why are we repeating the same stuff over and over again? Obviously, it's the whole thing, for the greater good and national security, all this stuff. But, they took these guys and now they're basically, what do they tell the families? I mean, we know this is war, all of this goes on. But, man, it's just, it's unnerving. It's unnerving. And your heart goes out to these soldiers and these sailors, that thought they were going to be a part of something big, and they were. And they didn't realize what they had to sacrifice to do it. It's horrible.
I don't think anyone could predict what would have happened.
No. And like I said, that other version was even worse, where they came back and they were all connected, and it was was awful.
So that was, for the people who are unfamiliar with the story, this is the TV, network TV version. If you actually go and read the detail what actually happened, it was some pretty gnarly stuff. There were people who were fused into the bulkheads.
Yep.
And they said it was the most painful thing. People were screaming.
Yep. Blue's got it right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was some of the descriptions were grotesque.
Absolutely. And you have to realize it's not, it's so hard to think. I think that's the hardest thing for us to think that nobody could be this evil to do these things, because we're not like them. But in some cases, especially in military or anytime you feel like you're doing the greater good or any war, I mean, both sides of the war always think they're on the right side, right?
Of
So
course.
anytime like that, you just have to understand that once you get past a certain point, in some cases, true evil, in some cases, psychosis, you get to the point of power, knowledge, and then you've got the scientific kind, which I think is almost the scariest, because it's these things that they're willing to do to people just to see what happens. Let's do this. So that reminds me of
Okay, keep in mind, every time you hear a lot of paranormal stories, right? Sean can attest to this, because I was watching him last night. Every time there's some kind of paranormal experience, right, Sys-Cho? A ghost situation, a cryptid sighting, a UFO sighting. What's the first meter that's always popping off? The EMF reader. There's something about EMF that's got something to do with ghosts, right? Something to do with cryptids.
Yeah, all of it.
I feel like all it takes is some like real physics professor expert who takes the paranormal seriously to try to figure it out. I'm sure there's a way you could kind of like reverse engineer and be like, oh, this is how they work.
I'm sure they are, Donnie.
But they don't take the paranormal seriously.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's the problem.
Think
no one's thinking about that.
But I also think, and I agree 100%, and I also feel that it's the way everything is compartmentalized, and everybody trying. I mean, you do it with people. If you separate and conquer. That's the way it is. You stand together and you're united in. If we just be united as human beings, period. Everybody, your own square foot of real estate.
And if anyone's ever wondering why most governments are so incompetent, it's because they're so compartmentalized.
Yeah. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and you have that rank. It's all set up for a reason, and it's the same as stepping down on all of this stuff. And nobody, you call you freaks and conspiracy this, and tinfoil hat, wearers and all that stuff. But I'll tell you what, you hang in there long enough, and you stay in there long enough, your tinfoil hat turns into a freaking foil crown sometimes, because a lot of these things come true. I was called crazy when I was a kid for some of the stuff that we're watching tonight, 50 years later, and it's undeniable, And Donnie, you've got some here. I think this is a perfect time for your slides. You want to go?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Now, I wanted to give this book one more shot because, again, for all of you guys that were around when I was around and enjoying this was as big, if not bigger, than Chariots of the Gods. You hear that all the time, and the movies when you went to go see it, you had to plan for weeks sometimes, especially if you were, your parents were working parents, and it was a big deal to see this and get the book and then go see this was one movie that didn't disappoint, and I wish I could have got better quality stuff for you, but it's just not out there. They're lost treasures, lost gems, so we'll celebrate it tonight. So here you go, your first slide, Donnie, that you had. Take it away. Yeah. Take it away, my friend.
Okay. So, a lot of people know about the Bermuda Triangle. It's more famous, but very few people, some people here might know about the Devil's Sea. It's got multiple names. One is the Devil's Sea. Actually, in Japan, they call it Agma no Umi, which means Sea of the Devil. The Chinese call it the Dragon Sea. But this is basically the Pacific Ocean's Bermuda Triangle. Now, here's the thing. This Dragon Sea is directly on the opposite side of the Earth on the same latitude line. Like the middle of the Dragon's Triangle and the middle of the Bermuda Triangle line up exactly. And they are on the exact opposite ends. And this place has got its own gnarly reputation as well. Like a pretty gnarly reputation.
Wow. Wouldn't that be interesting to get the accounts? See?
Now, here's the thing that
match
really
them.
Now, here's the thing that blew my mind earlier when I was watching your videos, because some of those videos I hadn't seen, right?
Right.
In a lot of in some of the stories, not all of them, but in some of the stories that occur in the Dragon's Triangle or the Devil's Triangle, Devil's Sea, also involve the green haze.
What?
So I was like,
So
oh
same,
crap.
same. Now, is there any stories of hidden, lost, empires, like as you said, or lost
They
cities?
found
Is
an
there
entire
legends?
sunken city off the coast of Japan. Okay, so where this is,
Yeah.
so where this is,
Is there a
it
pyramid under
starts
it?
near Tokyo.
Uh-huh.
Well, people aren't quite sure the exact borders, but generally what it's believed is it starts somewhere around Tokyo and extends down to the Philippines, and then the other end is right by near where the Marianas Trench is. And that whole bit of ocean, it's got a very bad reputation. I mean, up there with Bermuda Triangle,
Right.
and
Planes and such too.
oh yeah, and numbers, similar numbers.
Where are they? Where are the people going? I mean, it's like the Malaysia flight. All these different, some of them you gotta say, it could be, taken down, but this is unbelievable. And
Okay,
they're-
let me give you some figures here that I wrote down
Go ahead,
while I was researching this. 20 submarines during World War II were lost in that area. 20.
20. Wow.
There was a Japanese bomber pilot during World War II that was flying through that area, scouting, looking out for like the American fleet, and he radioed back to his dispatch saying, "The sky's opening up, the sky's opening up," and then nothing, and then they never saw him again, just gone.
And they're direct opposites.
Direct opposites, like directly opposite. Like if you've got a globe and you stick a needle through the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, it comes out the other end in the middle of the Devil's Triangle.
Folks, it gives new meaning to it's all connected, right? That's incredible. You want your next one?
Yeah, well, hold on. I got a few more little tidbits.
Absolutely.
This one is very speculative.
Okay.
Very speculative.
We're spitballing.
But it is also believed that Amelia Earhart went missing around there.
Yes, I've heard this. Wow.
The jet. So there was this like another instance very similar to the story of Flight 19, where a bunch of fully equipped ships, 9 ships, went missing. So the Japanese government at this point just got fed up. So they sent a ship called the Kaiomaru 5 research ship into that area to try to find what was going on. That ship goes missing, but then they later find it, and it's Mary Celeste style, like no one's on board, everyone just disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just, the stuff you dig around all this time, but again, I've heard of the Devil's Triangle. I never really realized,
Same latitude line.
Incredible. And Glenn here is saying, I thought this was important too. There are a dozen locations equally spaced around the world called vile vortexes, including Bermuda Triangle and the Devil's Sea.
Okay, to answer Chris Jarvis's question,
yes,
it's got multiple names because we've got different countries that are. Remember, this is like bordering. This is in between like 4 different countries.
Okay.
So, in Japanese they call it Angma no Omi.
Mm-hmm.
In Korea we call it Angma Pada. In China, I don't speak Chinese. So what their word. So for us, we call it the Devil's Sea. For them, they call it the Dragon's Triangle. Now, for the Chinese, the reason why they call it that is because they would find these mysterious plumes of smoke coming out of the water, and they believed that it was like a dragon breathing under there, like angry.
Wow.
So now, what they now believe is that there's like methane deposits, so that like the methane gas would come up. There's like a lot of weird like natural anomalies with the place
and
as
are
well.
they getting like what the lady saw on the plane, like the whirlpools, like the almost
there
like
are accounts of whirlpools. There
Yeah.
are accounts of like sudden, out of nowhere, unpredicted storms, like very heavy that just come out of nowhere.
And
Rogue
UFOs
waves,
and stuff.
rogue waves, UFO reports. There have been multiple UFO reports.
Well, there you go.
This thing's got it all. I mean, whatever they got going on in Bermuda Triangle, they got stuff going on here too.
Incredible. So I'm learning along with you guys. This is it's nuts. And like I said, sometimes we'll learn stuff, 40 years ago, and it's kind of familiar, but when you first learned it, in some cases, it's almost like your consciousness isn't ready to handle it. You pick up the things that creep you out and the mystery of it, but later on, you're putting the pieces together. It's very cool. All right, next one. This was very nice picture. I love this picture, but I wouldn't want to be in that sea.
Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, some of the stuff that went on in that area may have actually shaped world history and had an effect on like the outcome of World War II.
Wow.
This picture is basically a picture, and some people in the chat will know what I'm talking about. Is the Mongol invasion of Japan. I believe it was in 1274 was the first time they tried to do it, and then they tried to do it again. So the first time they tried to do it, right? Mongolia is completely in control of Asia at this point. China, Korea, everyone. The only place that's not under Mongolian control is Japan. So Kublai Khan, Genghis's grandson's like, yo, I want that. The problem is Mongolians, they're great horse archers. They don't know anything about water.
Wow.
Nothing. So they ordered the Chinese and Korean slaves to build them a fleet. And so they would take like fishing boats and like they would have them build a fleet. They sail over to Japan. They have the initial skirmishes with like the samurai. But the problem is a storm hits, a bunch of ships sink. They go back home with their tails between their legs because they just lost their fleet. Kublai Khan tries again about 7 years later, this time with an even bigger fleet, a huge fleet, hundreds of thousands of men, and they all show up around outside of Japan, getting ready to fight the samurai, and a sudden, very, very sudden and very violent storm shows up in that same area, wipes out everyone. Like hundreds of, they say like, I think the low estimates were like 40,000 men, all lost.
Oh my gosh.
And this is where the word kamikaze comes from, the divine wind.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, like the Japanese bombers, they
Yes.
were called kamikaze bombers.
Kamikazes, yeah.
This moment in Japanese history completely shaped Japanese culture and their mentality. Because when this happened, everyone in Japan was like, "Oh my God, we're so screwed. The Mongolians are coming. They're going to take over everyone." Like they thought they were going to lose, right? When that storm hit, they thought that was like God himself, like choosing them as they're like the chosen ones. They saw themselves as the chosen ones who were destined to like win every war. And that's why they were so tenacious during World War II. That's why they were using the term kamikaze for the kamikaze bombers, because it really shaped the Japanese mentality.
Incredible.
Like they saw themselves as chosen by God to win every war. That's why they knew in their hearts
And
they
just
could beat the
wouldn't quit.
Americans. And you know what beat that spirit out of them? Do you know what beat it out of them as a people? America dropped 2 nuclear bombs on them. And then they were like, okay, never mind.
Holy shit. Okay, never mind. Wow. Whoa, it's so deep. Donnie, man, you're bringing it tonight, my friend. I'm telling you what. See? And I told him this morning.
And the Devil's Triangle may have had something to do with all
Yeah.
that.
How about that? We're learning. I'm telling you. It's incredible. We come together. We put all this information. It's amazing. Who is this fine for? That was amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely profound. I'm digging these pants. I remember these pants. Come on, people. Do you not remember? You have, Donnie, I'm going to tell you a little something. You have not lived till you've had a pair of those pants come dancing at you from across the disco floor with that thumping music going on, and you're trying to finish your beer and get out before it makes it to you. Because I'm telling you, those are my memories from the 70s. Disco was
I
terrible.
actually do have an experience of those pairs of pants coming at me at a club. Something.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
pretty sure it was in Korea, and I'm pretty
That's a
sure it was
whole
at a
nother
very
show.
dodgy club, but that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other story. That's another night, man. That's
I'm not
another
quite
night.
sure of the gender of the person.
They love that story, Donnie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, but I remember those pants, platform shoes. Oh, the disco. Oh, polyester. Oh God. Oh, and the music was so bad. Oh, terrible. There you go. All yours, my friend. Who is this fine young man?
Okay. Well, this story is kind of, I want to get into why people don't talk about it now. Have you noticed people don't talk about it now very much?
About who?
About the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
It doesn't get that much play these days.
It doesn't.
It used to.
It
Back in the
doesn't.
70s and 80s, but not so much
true.
now.
That's absolutely true. I'm not. Yeah, I think everybody kind of shrugs it off like, no big deal. But man, it's a big deal. It's a big
think
deal.
I know
A
why.
Common Belief says you blew your mind. Susan Woodcarver says fascinating. It really was. I mean, that's extremely profound. I mean, you know, to sit here and think the people that do the things that they do, and you know, it sucks having it done in your name. You know, everybody's supposed to have a voice. You know, and nobody here would choose to do the things. You know, we'd be standing around going, "Look, if you want to tell us something. If we're not supposed to know, fine." But we know we're all connected. I don't know who you are down there, but obviously somebody's in control. Some force. I don't know if anybody's seen Moonfall yet, but if you haven't seen that movie, I wouldn't recommend a new movie, but I will recommend that one. It definitely makes you think. But I don't know if you've seen it, Donnie, but it's right up your alley. Tell us about this fine young man.
Well, I bring up this story because I think I know why people don't talk about it so much these days. Is because it's the one story that the most people have claimed to have debunked. You'll see that a lot. They'll be like, "Oh, Bermuda mystery solved. Oh, those silly paranormal people. They had all these theories, but at the end of the day, it was just this little random natural thing or whatever, right?" So that's the one that's been the most. The Bermuda Triangle story has been the most poo-pooed, I feel like, out of all the other paranormal stories. That's why we don't hear about it anymore. Now, and so the reason why I bring this one up is because, yeah, there are debunkers out there. There are people who will poo-poo the Bermuda Triangle. It's the easiest one to poo-poo. It is.
Just blow it away.
But there's this story where you just gotta, even the skeptics have to shrug at this one.
Lay it on us, buddy.
If you want to get so I have to give credit to another podcast. This was on Astonishing Legends. I first learned about this story, episode 64, for anyone who wants to hear like a 3-hour interview with this guy in the story.
Oh,
you want to hear him give his interview? Look up
me.
Astonishing Legends, episode 64. And that's this. It's called Electric Fog.
What?
Electric Fog.
Okay, that's not what I thought you said. Totally different movie. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. It's my ears. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good.
Totally different movie, I promise you.
So in December, it was December 4th, 1970. This guy, his name was Bruce Gurman. He was like in his 20s at the time, and he was taking his father to check out a real estate investment in the island of Andros, the Andros Islands. This is like in the Bahamas, right? So, and they make this route very regularly. And this guy, even though he's in his early 20s, he's got 600 hours flying experience at this point, and only flying this route. Like, he knows the route. So this is from Florida, like Miami to the island of Andros. It's 250 miles southwest from Miami. And this guy's been flying this route on the regular. He's got 600 hours on his belt, under his belt, right? So one day, December 4th, they go to meet the real estate investor. They're making they're making investments. So on the plane, it's him, his father, and the investor, and he's taking them back to Miami. So the same thing usually happens. You know, what happens, right? First things first, compass starts going weird. Electronics start acting a little funny. And he said that they saw a small black cloud in front of them.
Okay.
And it was like dark black, and it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he said it wasn't because we were getting closer. No, it was just getting bigger and bigger. He flies through it. And he said when he flew through it, it was like pitch black, but they just went in a straight line. And then so this was at 1,000 feet. This was like the beginning of the flight.
The fear, though, you know, you're counting on your gauges. They're going crazy.
Oh, it gets
Pitch
crazier.
black.
It gets crazier.
Oh.
He climbs then to 11,500 feet from 1,000 feet. So this is like he eventually makes it up there. He sees an even bigger cloud exactly like it. Right? This one's even bigger, and it's also expanding. And he's like, I got no choice. I got to fly through it. pitch black, all the electronics completely fail. Completely. At this point, he has zero control. He can't even like move the steering wheel stick or whatever. He said that when it was pitch black, everyone started freaking out. People were panicking, and then you couldn't see anything, but then there were these bright white flashes of light. He said, like, he knows what lightning looks like, but these were just random bright white flashes that would light up the area. And when he said when it lit up the area, he looked around and realized that he was in a cylinder. Like the whole cloud formed a cylinder, and he measured it. He was like, well, not measured it, but he estimated the cylinder itself was like a mile wide, and his plane was just flying right through it, no control over anything, and they were only able to see whenever there was a white flash. Otherwise, it was pitch black. They're all panicking. They finally make it out. So when he finally goes down the cylinder, he sees a light at the end of the tunnel, right? He flies towards it, it closes. And they're like, oh crap, what do we do? And they keep flying, they see another one, and it opens again, they fly right through it. As soon as they fly right through it, these guys are freaking out. He calls dispatch. And he's like, dispatch, can you help us? They talk about the cloud. Dispatch says, we don't see any weird cloud stuff. And they're like, do you know where we are? And their dispatch is like, we don't see you on radar. Where the hell are you? They're talking to like flight control, right? You're not on our radar at all. Where are you? And they finally figure out where they are. They're flying over the city of Miami. So this plane, It's called the Beechcraft Bonanza F-33C single engine. Its maximum flight speed, 180 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. That's the plane right there in the picture.
Right.
The distance from Andros to Miami is 250 miles. So the flight takes about 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. The time he took off to the time he was over Miami was 47 minutes. And when he landed, he checked the gas, and it was the right amount of gas for them to have been flying for 47 minutes. That was impossible. They basically teleported forward.
They sure did. They did. They teleported forward.
And
that's
not only does this guy have this story, but he's got the dispatchers to back up his claims.
Incredible. Like
so
a wormhole.
People out there who say, the Bermuda Triangle is bullshit. I mean, bring up this story and be like, yo, what's up?
There you go. There you go. And that's it. And, a couple people in here are making great points about that. It's like we do all this research. Everybody's been doing research. They've been doing research on this for years, 50 years. Think about it. It's just like ghosts and everything else. They keep telling us ghosts don't exist. And you really have people because they can't wrap their heads around it. Inquiring minds, inquisitive minds, we don't not acknowledge stuff like this. We can't, because if we don't keep it alive and we don't keep people, how do you explain stuff like that? Story upon story upon story, Donnie. I think you've hit a great point tonight on that, because it is one of those that people just wipe away, like ghosts or UFOs or anything else. And I think we're coming to a time where all this is coming back. And tonight, that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this is, not that, I had thought about that before. I'm just trying to keep it alive and, bring out the people from 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that had a lot of the answers that are getting buried in all of this other CGI stuff. This really happened. All of these things happened. It had a great impact on humankind, on our history, as Donnie has put it. And, I think it needs to stay alive. So share this episode out if you've got people. There's plenty of stuff in here that you could dig in any direction you want,
The reason why that episode was significant to me was because I myself had dismissed the Bermuda Triangle thing for a while.
Oh, wow.
Until I heard this episode again. It's Astonishing Legends, episode 64, where I was like, oh. Because it's an interview with the pilot for like 3 hours from his own words, and he'll go through the whole thing. And then after I listened to that, and then when I found out that he had dispatchers backing up his claims, I'm like, oh crap, Bermuda Triangle is real.
Right. And it's like, everybody on deck that talked about the Philadelphia experiment, all the different sailors that wrote in the journal. I mean, even going back to Columbus, we know he lied about a lot of things, and we all know, just think about stars in Hollywood. They prep and they do this. They have you go out with the person, the right person, seen in the right club. Nothing's different. Hey, Sapphire Elf, welcome in. And it's the same thing. These are real people with real experiences. Many of the experiences in any haunting or anything else you've ever heard of UFO sighting, afraid to talk about it because they don't want to sound crazy. Nobody's going to believe them. And there's a reason for that. It is it is by design that they come at you and try to make you sound crazy for telling the truth until you just drop it. Or they shoot you in the back of the head through the window. All my windows are high up in this castle here behind me, see? But anyway, incredible, Donnie. Thank you for bringing that forward. Now, you have another one here. I think what we want to do, I know it's a deep dive, so maybe we'll hold that back. I want to listen to this guy's. Yeah, I want to listen to this guy's interview. We might do a sister episode of that. Like, I want to go listen to it and we could talk about it because I want to hear what his voice sounds like when he talks about it. I mean, not that I discount his story, but I pull little things out of the emotion when people talk about things too. It's important to hear it. And if there's a voice out there, like that voice that called into that radio station, you can feel it. You know what I mean? So before we I wanted not to jump right back in and, everything else is absolutely incredible. But I want to do the weird creatures. Now, Donnie, this is you too. I know a little bit.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Now, this one is
the
just
other
going to
one, let's say that for a later day, if that's okay.
Sure,
I'm
absolutely.
That kind of deserves its own.
Absolutely.
Its own.
I know. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm absolutely feeling that. So this one is this one. Now, we thought it'd be fun to just throw in. We know that there's so many things in the ocean we don't know about, and we got Nessie, and in out there in Scotland, all these different things. I know there's plenty of things in the ocean we haven't even discovered yet, but these are sea creatures that are just a little bit different in the Bermuda Triangle, and Donnie's going to take us on this little trip here. I hope the music's not too loud. Give me a second and I can turn it down if I'll figure it out, okay? Go ahead.
Okay.
Should be good. Now this little guy is what? That is what, the cookie cutter fish?
The cookie cutter shark.
Cookie cutter shark. Tell us about him, the shark.
Well, it is a ectoparasite, like a mosquito or a leech.
Okay.
It basically swims up to larger animals like aquatic mammals, other sharks, big fish, tuna. They'll do something like tuna. And they will just take a circular size bite out of their meat and then just swim away. And they have the sharpest teeth known in the animal kingdom. They're like scalpels, basically. And they're like cookie cutters because they make a perfect circle. And they'll basically, what they'll do is they'll latch on with their upper jaw and then they'll spin around with their lower jaw. The lower jaw is what does all the work, like the lower teeth. And you know how sharks typically they'll like replace individual teeth, like they keep falling out and coming back.
Right. Oh,
their bottom
so
teeth
gross.
are all one unit. That's all like one piece. So basically, their mouth is like a buzzsaw,
Oh, it's just I can't. And people go, why don't you go in the water? That's why.
And while I was sending Sys-Cho pictures, I stumbled upon a picture on the internet of a kid who happened to have been bitten by one.
Horrible.
And I was gonna send
We're
it.
not showing you those.
Nah, we don't need to see that.
This is bad enough. This little feller here, the dragonfish. Now, that looks. I'm wondering what you have. We have to look and see what's under your the triangle that you were talking about tonight, the Devil's Triangle. I bet you it's a lot of the same, or I don't know.
No,
the water's different.
It's all the same. I know that. I know for a fact they've got cookie cutters in that part
There you
too.
go. See.
Yeah.
There it is. Oh gosh, this is awful.
No.
Do you know anything about the dragonfish? I had to put him in here because it's just hideous. Look,
Well,
he
I
means
haven't.
business.
Well, I
But
haven't
look
really.
what he's got. He's got the green glow. He's got a glow. He puts off like an infrared. So.
Oh yeah, bioluminescence.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Look at that, which is
a lot of
very
Cookie
similar
Cutter
to what
Shark
they're seeing.
actually has that too.
Yeah. See,
They
this is
kinda
also
light up.
what they're seeing when the ships disappear and things like that. I don't know if it's connected, but it
Yeah,
sounds.
that's a cookie
There they
cutter.
are, right there, the cookie cutter fish attached on. They go up and take a bite in the shape of and just
Well,
leave.
they've been known to take a bite out of like submarines.
So many. Yes.
You heard about that, right?
Yes, I did a little bit. Yeah.
And actual power cables.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Look at this.
they can be a hazard.
Yeah. You know, and all those guys, you know, in the water, that's an actual.
And I'm sure
Dry
whales
one.
just hate them. They
Oh my
just hate
God.
them. Yeah.
You never hear, you know, of this kind of stuff. Now, this is the eel mystery. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this one. Donnie, feel free to jump in, but I had just a little piece of this one.
I don't know
this
much
is
about
actually-
eels other than the fact that they taste good.
Yeah, this is actually one of
It's my favorite sushi, by the way.
Eat your anchovies. So,
I mean, they're really
This here-
good.
I had to pull a couple pieces out about people talking about this because I actually just found out about this yesterday. An old game warden told me the eels we caught in ponds and rivers in Connecticut were born in a place called the Sargasso Sea, somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. There was something mysterious in the idea that this creature was born thousands of miles away in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Every year from August to September, American and European eels migrate to Sargasso Sea off Bermuda. After spawning, the adult eel dies. The eggs hatch after several days and develop into a larval stage, which is shaped like a willow leaf. The larvae drift in the ocean for several months and then enter the Atlantic currents to be carried north toward Europe and North America. We don't know where they spawn. For American and European eels, it's somewhere east of Bermuda, but we don't know the exact location or even how they find their spawning places. They make their way back to where they were born, but it is presumably not the same place because it's not a hard landmark. It's the head of some current or temperature front. And there that is. It's a mystery. So it's very much, I guess, like migrating birds and things like that. I wonder if they are drawn by that magnetic pull. I mean, gosh, birds flock like that, you know? They migrate just like this. So, you know, why wouldn't they? And isn't there electric eels as well?
Yeah, but those are mostly freshwater. They're not in the ocean.
But they have a, you know, there's something, I don't know. I don't understand all that stuff, but it just seems creepy to me. But there's another one.
You ever actually see one in action?
You ever
see one actually like fry a caiman in the Amazon? It's pretty gnarly.
It's pretty gnarly.
Pretty gnarly.
Well, there's your kitty.
Oh, there we go!
There he
Yay!
goes.
Oh, I love that thing. That is the perfect. God, good Lord, Cisco, that's perfect.
Oh, where do you see my very, very, very last one? Well, there's that, and it's incredible. Now, we'll take a little vote. I know it's really late. And this one is, I might be able to speed it up a little bit. But anyway, this is the one with Flight 19, and it tells a little bit about the story. And I thought it was great to open with it and close with it. And if you're game, I'm game. You game, Donnie?
I'm game for anything.
All right, great. So this is a little bit more, it has a little bit in it about each man, his personal experience in his journal or told by the guys that were there, how they didn't want to go on the flight. Some begged off, some got out of being on it. Go ahead.
I'll be back.
And some guys got out of being on the flight. So I'm going to let it roll. Enjoy it. It's a perfect ending for this wonderful episode. So here we go. Jackie says bring it. And Vixen's game. We're all game. Here we go, baby. Take me to your kitty.
Eagle Bulletin, on the other hand, loved to fly.
Some of the men didn't like to fly. So in order for them to get their 50% flight skins, as we call it, extra money for flying hazardous duty, they had to have 4 hours a month of flight time on record. My thing was to fly under somebody else's name whenever I could get away with it for whatever reason was convenient. they had to go on Liberty or they needed their 4 hours or whatever.
You flew this morning. You know the regulations.
Years later, Bolton returned to the old air base where he had come within a footstep of losing his life.
That afternoon in December, I went out after lunch to fly again in the afternoon. As luck would have it, and that's certainly the word, the duty officer was the same man who had been there in the morning when I had already flown. Since that happening, I've had some thoughts on that subject. One thing I've thought is that my family, which already existed, I had one child in Seattle that I had never seen yet. It might have been my entire family had I made that Flight 19. And who knows what else would have been different if I'd have flown as the 15th person with that training squadron.
The leader of the training squadron was Marine Lieutenant Charles Taylor of Corpus Christi, Texas. He was a 6-year veteran with over 2,500 hours in the air, but he was a new man at Fort Lauderdale. He's late, but he's not in any hurry, which is unusual for Taylor, who has a record as a punctual and conscientious pilot. As his crew gathers, a few bets are laid on the pro football final between the Redskins and the Rams. No one will collect. 13 men will go up with Taylor in 5 Avenger aircraft. They are 1 man short. Corporal Alan Cosner has been excused and Eagle Bolton has been grounded. They're kept waiting 30 minutes.
No.
Lieutenant Taylor is trying to get excused from the flight. When asked why, he can't quite explain it. He just feels he shouldn't go.
Forget it.
Please taxi to runway and hold position.
FT-28, your Flight 19 is clear for takeoff at 14:10 hours.
2:10 p.m. They are 40 minutes late getting underway, but they will still be home before dark.
They should be about to head north.
The senior instructor from Lauderdale, Lieutenant Robert Cox, has just taken off on another mission. Cox is about to become the most important man in the lives of the 14 airmen of Flight 19. For the next 45 critical minutes, he will be their only contact with the outside world.
Powers, what does your compass read?
Repeat to Powers, what does your compass read? I don't know where we are. I'm afraid we got lost after that last turn.
This is FT-740 NAS Fort Lauderdale.
Somebody up here, some boats or planes seem to be lost.
This is Fort Lauderdale, the FT-74. Roger and acknowledge.
This is FT-74 to
boat or planes calling Powers. Please identify yourselves so we can send some help.
This is FT-28.
Does anyone have any suggestions?
FT-28, this is FT-74. What is the problem?
Both my compasses are out. I am trying to find Fort Lauderdale,
Florida. I am over land, but it is broken. I'm
I'm sure it's the Keys, but I have no idea how far out I am.
Taylor seems to think he's over the Keys.
That is not possible. Please instruct FT-28 to fly standard procedure. 270 degrees and fly toward the sun.
FT-28, this is FT-74. Put the sun on your port wing, and if you're in the Keys, fly up the coast. What is your present altitude? I'll fly south to meet you.
I know where I am now. I'm at 2,300 feet. Don't come after me.
Roger, 2,300 feet. I'm coming up to meet you anyway.
Can you have Miami or someone turn on their radar gear and pick us up? We are on a navigational hop, and on the second leg, I took over as I thought we were lost. Unfortunately, both of my compasses are not working. Over?
You can't expect to get here in 10 minutes. There's a 30 to 36 knot head or crosswind in your area. Turn on your emergency IFF gear. Or do you have it on already?
That is negative.
Use your ZBX gear. Use your ZBX gear.
FT-74, this is Fort Lauderdale. Tell FT-28 to have one of his wingmen take over the lead.
FT-28, this is FT-74. Have one of your wingmen take over the lead. FT-28, your transmission is fading. Something seems to be wrong. What is your present altitude?
I'm at 4,500 feet. Visibility 10 to 12 miles.
As the word spread at Lauderdale Base, there was dismay. How could a man with Taylor's experience get lost on such a simple exercise, on such a clear day, even if his compasses had gone out? It was December, almost Christmas. The days were short, and the sun was definitely in the west.
This is FT-74. Do you read me? This is FT-74. Do you read me? I've lost contact. I'm coming in to land.
Cox wanted to go back up, but permission was refused. He had played out his part in the drama, and to this day it still ranks as one of the most frustrating experiences of his life.
The leader of Flight 19 admitted that he was lost. He at no time indicated he had any other difficulties, except that he believed that his compasses didn't work properly. He asked for assistance in returning to Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station. And for some 45 minutes, I gave him this assistance by radio. He either ignored or refused the help that was being given him.
Port Everglades to FT-28. If you can change to yellow band 3,000 kilocycle emergency frequency, please do so and give us a call.
I cannot switch frequencies. I must keep my planes intact.
Port Everglades to FT-28. Radio check.
Can you read us? Affirmative. We have just passed over a small island. There is no other land in sight. I'm at 3,500 feet. Have an emergency IFF. Does anyone in the area have a radar screen that can pick us up?
Roger, stand by.
Buenas noches, señoras y señoras. Esta noche escuchamos a la musical tour.
Got to get him off this channel. We're picking up Havana Commercial Radio.
Dinner key to all Naval and Coast Guard.
All efforts to get Taylor or anyone in Flight 19 onto the regular emergency channel were refused or ignored.
We have 5 aircraft in some difficulty and presumably lost.
To all Gulf Sea Frontier and Eastern Frontier, HFDF nets. Please be on the alert to obtain all possible bearings on FT-28, who is transmitting on 4805 kilocycles.
We are heading over
for 45 minutes and then turning north to make sure we are not over the Gulf of Mexico. Over. Port Everglades to Dinner Key.
Are you able to get a bearing on FT-28?
Dinner Key to Port Everglades.
Using radio direction finders, homing in on Taylor's signal, 6 coastal stations were trying to combine and complete a radio fix on Taylor's position.
This is FT-28 to Flight 19. Change course to 090 for 10 minutes.
It was later determined that when Taylor had first reported himself lost, he was in fact right on course. By now, however, he was hopelessly confused.
Port Everglades, this is FT-28. Do you read? I receive you very weak. We are now heading 270. Roger, FT-28. This is FT-28 to Port Everglades. We will fly 270 until we hit the beach or run out of gas. Okay, when the first man gets down to 10 gallons of gas, we will all go down together. Does everyone understand? FT-28 to Port Everglades. Can you read me? Over.
Tier 22, turn right at
Port Everglades to FT-28. Hear you, strength 3, modulation good.
At 5:45 p.m., it was dark in Florida. Search aircraft along the coast were on full alert. At Banana River, a flying boat was standing by. The crew didn't know why.
Port Everglades to FT-28. Can you change to 3,000 kilocycles? Repeat. Can you change to 3,000 kilocycles?
At 5:55 p.m., two-way radio contact Taylor was gone. 5 radio centers now had a bearing on Flight 19. They were waiting for Dinner Key, Miami.
This is Radio Dinner Key. We've got a good DF bearing of 023 degrees. True from this station. Does that complete the fix?
That completes it.
Roger.
Fix is 29 degrees, 15 north, 79 degrees west.
Roger and out. Okay, we found him. Let's bring him home, gentlemen. We've got a fix within a 100-mile electronic radius. 29 degrees, 15 minutes north, 79 degrees, 0 minutes west. That's a fix.
FT-28. FT-28. This is Port Everglades. This is Port Everglades. Do you read me, FT-28?
FT-28.
Compasses had gone, a man's mind had gone,
FT-28.
and now, just as they had found him, radio contact was lost.
Do you read me?
Something in the night was terribly wrong. 13 more men were about to be drawn into it. At 7:20 p.m., the crew at Banana River finally got word to join in the search. The flying boats were called flying gas tanks because that's what they were. It was part of the pre-flight check to make certain that none of the 13-man crew had matches or cigarettes.
Roger, Banana River and out. PB5 airborne from Banana River.
This is Dinner Key. Informed Banana River has now sent up 2 PBMs to conduct expanding square search.
Taylor to Powers, do you read?
By now, the entire Florida coast was listening to a man die.
We are over. Do you think?
Should be able to see a light.
Do you read me? FT-28. Do you read me?
The Banana River flying boat was the last hope. She reported in 3 minutes after takeoff. She was not heard from again. It was later realized that these men too had vanished in total silence, while the last sad fragments from Flight 19 were still being heard.
Holding 270 degrees.
We did not go far enough east. Turn around again. We just as may as well turn around and go east again.
FT-28, FT-28. This is NSO, NSO. How do you read me? Over. It's 8:05. That should finish the fuel supply. It must be down.
Despite a monumental search, not a trace of the 6 aircraft and 27 men was ever found. How could a man of Taylor's experience become so disoriented in an area he knew like the back of his hand? How could the compasses on all 5 aircraft cease to function simultaneously? And if this was not the case, why did not Taylor give over command to another pilot? If Taylor had a premonition, he was right. It's hard to avoid the conclusion that there was something electric in the air that day. It may have been affecting compasses. It was certainly affecting the human mind. It worked swiftly.
The area that you are
It seems to
discussing
have
now
totally
is
destroyed
the
a fine
aura
pilot's
of this
judgment.
planet. It is the communicative channel through which the Millionth Council governs this planet.
Which council, sir?
The Millionth Council.
The millionth?
Millionth. Disappear, but they are in the timeless void. They are all perfectly alive and well. It is the only area through which the Council can communicate.
Well, there you go, guys.
Well, there you go.
Is the Millionth Council? Is it wormholes, portals?
You know, Blue Crossroads put an
Beautiful.
interesting thought
Let's
into
put
my
that one up
brain.
again. I like that idea. I mean, it's just as plausible as any.
If we want to go full out woo on this, I could go full out woo on this. But
Yeah, I know.
Blue Crossroads actually inspired me into this idea. What if? Wait, let's read that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was
What
fast.
what if the broken land masses he now sees are the ones in the Devil's Triangle because they flew through a wormhole,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there shouldn't be any broken land masses, but there are over there. Only the radio transmissions are still making it through to the U.S.
It's possible, man. It's so possible. I'm sorry, guys. I got popcorn.
What
You
year
see
was
me eating
this?
popcorn.
Again,
Say,
Sys-Cho?
say again?
Do you remember what year this was again?
The year which on
The Flight 19 incident.
Flight 19 was the war had only been over a couple of months, so
Oh,
you
so
know,
this had to be like 40s,
40,
right?
yeah, it was
okay.
46,
Late
48.
40s.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, right in there. I should have wrote the date down. I'm sorry, I dropped the ball on that one, but yeah, I mean,
You know
it's
what I
just
was thinking?
Incredible.
Actually, I had a disturbing thought thanks to Blue Crossroads idea. What if there is a wormhole, but when it takes you out of the wormhole, you're actually on the bottom of the Devil's Triangle? And what if on the Devil's Triangle, you go into that wormhole and you wind up on the bottom?
Yeah, I mean,
So you're just dead.
what's
you
in
know?
these pyramids
You're
under
just
there? Well, if you listen to what he's saying, and there's no reason not to believe it. I mean, it could have been anybody. It could have been a caller. It could have just been somebody. But you've got all the phones going dead. All other calls were blocked. This is 74-ish this happened. 3, 4. I mean, you saw the phones. You can pretty much guess the era, right?
Yeah.
You know, the push-button phones. All offices had those. You know, gosh, I was working when offices still had those. You push the blinking red square button for hold. You know what I'm talking about. All of us out there that were back then. And that's the part that convinces me, because you wouldn't have had the technology at the time unless you were governmental. For sure, they had stuff. But this guy was just doing a radio show, a simple call-in radio show, talk show, like early Art Bell stuff, you know, where he just called in to talk about a subject, just like we're doing now. So, but all that was blocked, and that was the only one that got through. That's why I played it twice, and it's something that I had no problem believing when, as Donnie said, this was big in the 70s and 80s. All this stuff was coming out. Now all the stuff I'm looking up, and I didn't even know you were thinking this. All the stuff I'm looking up today to tell you, was there any update on, did they find any of the planes? It seems like a lot of people are saying they did find one on land. There were bodies in it.
Okay.
No explanation, and then that's
we were
debunked.
we were looking this up like
Yeah.
5 minutes before we were starting. Like we
Right.
were like,
Yeah,
Like,
and then there's
hurry up
so
and
many, and then
quickly,
that's
so.
debunked. So I don't know how to
Well,
take it.
here's the thing. Based off what I've read, and I've been reading this not too long, but based off what I've read, it's interesting. None of them are confirmed.
Right.
Okay,
That's
so
what
there's
I'm
two
saying.
instances.
It's kind of hanging,
The first one was interesting. This was, do you remember the Challenger disaster?
Yeah.
Do you remember where you were when you saw that?
I was bartending at Red Lobster. 2 TVs were on playing constantly. I remember around that time or right after, that's when the little girl got stuck in the little 6-inch pipe, and she was in there all day, and all of the world was watching her get pulled out of that pipe. It was around that time. I know I was bartending, so that's where I was. And I watched it.
Did you
live.
watch it live?
Yeah,
Wow.
live when it happened. Standing there with the whole bar.
How did people react? Because I don't remember that. That part I don't remember in my
Just
childhood.
the air got sucked out of the room. That's the only way I can it was just
It
everybody
was that
at
bad.
once just
Yeah.
it dead silence. It just stood at the TV, and then there was a let go, like and then oh my God, you started hearing stuff, and it seemed like a
You
moment in
saw
time.
it explode
Yeah.
live. That must have been
It's a
weird.
moment in
That must have been
time.
surreal.
Yeah, it was. I've seen a lot of stuff like that. I've
Mm.
seen a lot of stuff like that. I don't want to name them off now, but if we could do a whole episode
I mean,
on
you told me some of this stuff in
things
private, and I was like, "Holy
yeah,
shit!"
yeah,
you know?
things that Sys-Cho
Yeah.
saw live on TV accidentally that I wish I
Some of
had.
the things you saw live in person, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit!"
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's crazy. right?
Anyway,
But tonight,
that's a-
Bermuda Triangle, we're
Okay,
way over, guys. We're over like by an hour. I'm so
It's all good.
sorry.
Oh, no.
We still have everybody hung with us, Donnie. This has
the
been
reason
gripping.
why I brought up the Challenger disaster
Mm-hmm.
was because when
Oh,
when the debris of the space shuttle fell into the ocean, they all went out into that same area looking for the pieces of the shuttle.
Oh,
But what they
okay.
happened upon were pieces of a ship, or not a ship, a plane. Now,
Okay.
some people speculated that could have been one of the Avengers in Flight 19, but the problem was there was not enough evidence, so it was not confirmed either way. The other instance I know about now, this one's even more interesting. Someone in fairly recently, like 2000.
Yeah, I mean, I
Something.
pulled up one that was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
it's like,
it was, like,
but everything
fairly
they're pulling up
recently.
now, guys. I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, Donnie, but this is important. Everything they're bringing up now is trying to debunk the more famous cases of the Bermuda Triangle, whereas in the 70s and 80s we were trying to prove it, and people were coming out, and this is happening. But I'm not going to say I know it's happening still. And you're still hearing these cases, except that now it seems like everything is, disappeared, the search and this and that, and they kind of blow it off. Very much like a murder case of Marilyn Monroe or something like that. They blew it off. And now they just seem to get the stuff out so quick, and it was drugs, and everybody just shuts up. But they'll come out real fast with it within 24 hours or, where some of them take like weeks. Think about that. So it's just the information warfare, it's psychological warfare, it's all of this. And if you can question this, you should question everything. And like was said in the chat tonight, researchers research and go down rabbit holes and come out and go, more and more, give me more, look what I found. And 10 more rabbits jump in the hole with them, And that's what it's like now. And I think that's why they're trying to debunk it so much, because they don't want us to know, Donnie. And we're just inquisitive minds. And I cannot say enough about these shows. A lot of people love them. They're either nostalgic or never got a chance to see them. They weren't born yet. So they're lost treasures, just like the pirates are. We're out there,
Well,
paranormal pirates, baby. We're out there.
I wanted
just
to bring
digging
up
this
one last.
treasure. Please
wanted
do.
to bring up one last thing. If we have time still,
Mr. Dickens wants to say, he's telling me I have to go to bed, and I have to get up real early in the morning. But
One
I
last
hate to
quick
cut this
thing.
off, but I think we should do a sister show to this, and everybody dig, and we'll come back in here and talk, and we'll talk about your favorite. There's so many different instances of this. Everybody's going to have a favorite story, and a different idea, and I think we should look into it and not look at it so big, but it's all connected. So go ahead, Donnie. Come here, Mr. Dickens.
I just wanted to mention real quickly the second instance that could possibly be one of the planes.
Sure.
Someone fairly recently discovered an Avenger, right? That class of plane in the middle of the Florida Everglades.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was the Army showed up. The military actually showed up and took it away. And people have been trying to go through the Freedom of Information Act to get information, like, was that from Flight 19? But the government's been, like, oddly very mum about it. And the thing is, like, how often are those Avengers crashing on American soil? Like, people are... Oh, and they also found 2 bodies in there.
Well, see, that's just it. They can just say whatever, and most people are going to believe it and go, "Oh man, that's a shame," and move on. And people like us, like we said, inquiring minds want to know. Obviously, there's a market for it. Back then, they could, it had to be rated G, and it, some of it's a little funny, but they really tried to dig down the stories. It's often sad, I think, when I watch something that old, that everybody on that it's gone. This is what they left us. They left us information. They left us their witness statements. They left their documents. They left, all the coincidences. It's all supposed to be coincidence, right? Look at Philadelphia Experiment. The pages are torn out of the journal. The only one's missing. They took that ship as it was commissioned first day.
Oh, it's just hearsay.
And Mr. Dickens just loves y'all, and he actually does come and tell me it's time
He's
to
a
go to
real
bed.
cutie pie, by the way. This is my first time seeing him.
This
He's
Mr.
a cutie
Dickens. Say
pie.
hi, everybody. He's right on time. I know he's so miffed with me. Don't kill
For
the
some
keyboard.
reason, I always expected you to have a black cat, Sys-Cho. I don't know
I've
why.
had them. I've had them. Color doesn't matter, Donnie. Haven't you heard?
I love all animals.
That's my ginger baby. But he didn't even know he's right on cue.
Although if I did ever see a pink cat, I would have some questions.
Yeah, I'd be after who's
I'd be like,
the
"What's
pet
going on
parent
here?"
on that one. I'd be after the pet. I used to know a
If it was
lady
like
real
neon
quick.
pink, I'm like,
real
"What's
quick, and
going
we're
on
out of
here?"
here. She lived next door to me. She used to dye her poodle. She had a white poodle. I always feel sorry for poodles. You got little tufts of hair all over your body. You're going to have a bad attitude. How do you start your day with little tufts of hair? Anyway, she used to dye the dog a different color every week. And she'd walk down the street with a green dog. Sometimes she'd dip one end in. He'd be half one color, half another. Out of her freaking mind. I know people have fun with that, but I worked at PetSmart, and people brought in to have their dog's toenails, and if you do, that's fine, but I have just a different vantage point on it, and that's cool. But Mr. Dickens is right on time, because another thing is nostalgic I'm always talking about here is the way we used to dress back in the day, and this young man knows exactly what it's like to be a sharp-dressed man, let's put it that way. And I'd like to thank Laura Elizabeth. I know she's asleep, but she'll see this, because she sent me this little TikTok, and it's really quick, so you have to just pay attention. And it's, oh gosh, it's on here. I had it written down. I'll give her credit. It's Cat's Extra Large World on TikTok. So here it is. I hope you enjoy it. It's a perfect way to end tonight with these little guys who are probably running the internet anyway. Oop, wait. Start at the beginning. Go at the beginning. Don't you ruin on me. Here we go.
Do you like your new tie? It makes you look very handsome.
Is that not the best? One more time. Look at this. Yeah, you saw what you saw. Look at this.
Do you like your new tie? It makes you look very handsome.
Yes, it does, you little sugar. I don't know his name, but thanks so much to Cat's X World on TikTok. Go check it out. Wonderful stuff.
We're doing funny cat videos now? Because I'm a curator of funny cat videos.
Bring them on, baby. We'll do a
Oh,
whole
I'll
night of
bring
them.
it. I will bring the funny cat videos.
I love you all. Thank you so much, Donnie.
This was
You are a
fun tonight.
trooper,
Thank
man.
you.
Oh my gosh, how much fun. Get into it, guys. Don't you let them tell it it's not happening, because we know different. All this stuff's happening, and what? It's all connected. Good night, everybody. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut. And for God's sake, stay out of the Bermuda Triangle. And there's sharks in the water, people. Let's get that through our heads.
Cookie cutter sharks.
Cookie cutter sharks. Just one little
Right.
bite, and then they leave, and they come back and do it again. The
They're
little
dicks.
bastards.
They're dicks.
Good night. I think we're out. I think we're out. Good night.
Like your new tie? It makes you look very handsome.